Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Comprehensive Comic. My awakened substitute can develop dependence. Chapter 41. For a moment, Chitanda Aru was like an ant on a hot pot, spinning around anxiously. Nandong Yang stretched out his hand to hold Chitanda Aru's head and said, "Calm down, I have a method, but I'm not sure if I can see it. Do you want to try it?" Nandong Yang's words made Chitanda Aru's eyes light up, and she immediately said excitedly, "What method is it? Forget it, you will know after you try it." Saying this, Chitanda Aru urged Nandong Yang to try it quickly. Looking at Chitanda Aru's anxious expression, it was as if a duck would fly away if it reaches its mouth. Nandong Yang didn't waste any time, stretched out his palm and covered Chitanda Aru's eyes in astonishment. Immediately, Chitanda Aru felt her eyes being enveloped by a cool energy. It only lasted 2 or 3 seconds. When the energy disappeared, Nandong Yang's palm was also removed. Only then did Chitanda Aru open her eyes. The moment she opened her eyes, Chitanda Aru could clearly feel that the whole world had changed and became clearer. In the past, seeing the world with my eyes was like using a low-end mobile phone camera, everything was a bit blurry. Today's eyes see the world just like the most top-notch and most equipped cameras. Everything captured is so clear. You can even see the texture of a mosquito flying by. This also made Chitanda Aru realize that Nandong Yang's identity was definitely not an ordinary person. Otherwise, how could he have such magical, superpower-like means? But Chitanda Aru suppressed the curiosity in her heart for the time being. The most urgent task now was to find the missing bunny girl senior. As for Nandong Yang's secrets, now that he has joined the club, he has plenty of time to reveal his secrets one by one. Then Chitanda Aru kept looking around, trying to find the bunny girl senpai. Next to her, Nandong Yang looked at Chitanda Aru, who was so impatient, and reached out to hold her hand. When her face turned slightly red, he pulled her in one direction. This direction is the direction Nandong Yang saw Mai Sakurajima walking. Soon the two came to a corner of the library. The scene that appeared in front of their eyes was a bunny girl waving her hand in front of a boy. The boy seemed to be blind and didn't see the hand in front of him shaking. Even if the bunny girl covered the book with her whole hand, the boy still didn't react at all. In the eyes of others, this scene is very strange. This scene happened to be seen by Chitanda Aru. Suddenly his eyes lit up and his smile completely blossomed. He just opened his legs and wanted to run forward. But Nandong Yang from behind grabbed him by the collar. Chitanda Aru's purple eyes looked at Nandong Yang with great confusion. "This bunny girl senior is currently invisible, and we are rushing over to communicate with her. To others, it looks like we are communicating with air," Nandong Yang patiently explained. "This girl is usually very smart. When she encounters something she is interested in, her mind will be filled with curiosity." Hearing this, Chitanda Aru clenched her fists in her hands and said with a look of sudden realization, "I was so excited that I forgot about it. After searching for so long, I finally found a real urban ghost story. I am inevitably a little excited." Nandong Yang gave him a look and then made a suggestion. "Aru, go over and pat her now, and led her to an unoccupied resting seat to have a good talk with her." Okay. After Chitanda Aru let go of Nandong Yang, she walked towards Sakurajima Mai. When passing by Sakurajima Mai, I patted her on the tender shoulder. Mai Sakurajima, who was still trying to attract the attention of the boy reading, was startled and let out an exclamation. "Ah!" When I turned around, I realized that there was a beautiful girl with black hair and purple eyes standing behind me, and she even winked at me. Mai Sakurajima was shocked at first, but then she felt a surprise. After a long time, I finally found someone who can see me. And she's also a cute schoolgirl. After Chitanda Aru signaled to Sakurajima Mai, she walked to the resting seats in the library. Sakurajima Mai looked at Chitanda Aru and led her to the rest seat. Did she mean to communicate with herself? Immediately he did not doubt her presence, and took steps forward, following Chitanda Aru. Soon the two of them came to a resting seat, but there was a boy wearing black-rimmed glasses sitting next to them. Chitanda Aru took Sakurajima Mai to the resting seat and sat down. He grabbed Mai Sakurajima's hand and asked enthusiastically and curiously, "This bunny girl senior, how did you do it without being noticed by wearing such bold clothes?" "I'm curious." After saying this, Chitanda Aru's whole face almost touched Sakurajima Mai's body, especially her purple eyes, which seemed to be glowing and kept shining. Mai Sakurajima couldn't help but sit aside in embarrassment, thinking to herself. This schoolgirl is a little too familiar. But still give an explanation. This senior, first of all, I won't call you bunny girl senpai. My name is Mai Sakurajima. You can call me Mai. Secondly, I don't know why I suddenly became invisible to anyone, so I wore this bunny girl costume to attract others' attention. As soon as Sakurajima Mai finished speaking, Chitanda Iri captured the key information. Senior, you said your name is Sakurajima Mai. Are you the popular child star who debuted since she was a child, Sakurajima Mai? I didn't recognize him for a moment. I didn't remember him until he said his name. Isn't it really strange? Chitanda Eru touched her chin with one hand and thought. Then I introduced myself. Mai senpai, my name is Chitanda Eru, you can just call me Eru. After hearing Chitanda Iri's self-introduction, Sakurajima asked the question she wanted to ask. Okay, Eru senpai, I want to ask you a question. How did you see me, or discover me? Because during this period of time, I have been completely invisible to others. Before this, there were some junior students who could observe me wearing a bunny girl costume, but they would forget about it in less than half a day. I asked them to help me spread the information. My original intention was to make more people notice me, but it had no effect. Instead, it slowly became an urban legend. Even the rumors of urban ghosts are almost forgotten. As she spoke, Sakurajima Mai's face first showed joy, and then slowly turned from joy to fear, and her body trembled a little unconsciously. Because I think that as time goes by, my entire sense of existence is constantly disappearing. Now, he is no longer under observation. Before, some junior students could still see him. But now, it was only a few days without being discovered. Mai Sakurajima already felt that she seemed to be completely abandoned by the world. The boundless loneliness made Sakurajima Mai feel the fear of loneliness. I dare not turn off the lights when I go to bed at night, and I have to take out my mobile phone to play songs to prevent the room from being silent before I dare to sleep. Chitanda Aru could see at this time that Mai senpai in front of her was a little too excited because she was discovered by him. Immediately comforted, Senior Mai, calm down first and speak slowly, don't be in a hurry. Senior Mai, calm down first and speak slowly, don't be in a hurry. With Chitanda Aru's words of comfort, Mai Sakurajima finally recovered from her overly excited look. With a blush on her face due to excitement, Sakurajima Mai thanked Chitanda Aru. It's a little too exciting to be discovered again. It's okay. It's normal to be emotional when something like this happens. Chitanda Iri answered with a smile. He didn't continue to ask about the things he was curious about. At this time, Sakurajima Mai's emotional state seemed to be unstable. Although she was very curious, she was still considerate of her situation. Sakurajima Mai suddenly remembered the question she just asked and said quickly. Senior sister, how did you observe me? I am completely unobserved now, right? Quote. This. Having said this, Chitanda Eru couldn't help but look at the boy sitting next to her. Mai Sakurajima wondered why Chitanda Iri looked at the boy next to her and then turned to look too. As Sakurajima Mai turned her head and Nangong Yang, who had been watching the conversation between the two, met her eyes. Mai Sakurajima was shocked again. Someone could actually find her. And it seemed that he had been watching her and Eru talking to each other just now. When I sat next to the resting seat just now, I didn't pay attention to this boy. I thought he couldn't see him. Immediately, Mai Sakurajima laughed twice and said hello. Hello, junior fellow student. I was too engrossed in the conversation just now and didn't notice you. Nangong Yang responded with a smile. It doesn't matter, just watch you talk. As for what you asked just now, how did you detect your method? Is it some of my special methods, like this? As Nangong Yang spoke, his eyes wearing black-rimmed glasses became very bright and continued to shine. You can tell at a glance that these eyes are extraordinary. This is called spiritual vision. You can see things that ordinary people can't see. Aru's eyes were briefly given the ability to see spiritually by me. That's why Eru and I can see you. Chitanda Aru, who was listening next to him, was even more curious about Nangong Yang's eyes. The very strange eyes under those black-framed glasses actually have such abilities. Chitanda Aru is really curious. When Sakurajima Mai heard this, her eyes rose with a little hope, and she immediately asked. Well, junior fellow student, you have such a special ability. I wonder if there is any way you can help me. It doesn't matter how much the reward is. As she spoke, Sakurajima Mai's emotions began to get excited again. After all, this was the only person she met who could help her recover. Let's not mention the reward. How much do you know about your condition now, and why do you have this symptom? Have you ever understood it? When asked, Mai Sakurajima was a little stunned. How do I know why my symptoms disappear? Nangong Yang looked at Sakurajima Mai's slightly dull look and said softly. To solve the problem, we must first find out the root cause of the problem. Only then can we prescribe the right medicine, right? Yes, Nangong-kun is very right, so senior sister Mai, you have to think about the reasons why you are not being observed. Chitanda Aru next to him echoed. Then asked Nangong Yang. Nangong-kun, can you analyze what's going on with senior Mai? Nangong Yang naturally knows about Mai Sakurajima's situation. Even the solution is clear to me. But Nangong Yang doesn't plan to follow the original work. Still using the old method to get married. First of all, Mai Senpai's symptoms are called puberty syndrome. They are symptoms that only occur in adolescence. The cause is the psychological problems of adolescence. So, Mai Senpai, you will understand why you have such symptoms if you think about it for a while. Now the question was thrown to Sakurajima Mai again, making her think for a while. Soon an idea flashed in her mind, and Sakurajima Mai seemed to think of something and said immediately. I remembered, before the symptoms disappeared. There was a time when I was troubled by too much attention, and I had the idea in my heart that no one should pay attention to me. Not long after that, people around me started to ignore me. I was happy at first, but as more and more people ignored me, the scope became bigger and bigger. I became more and more panicked later on, and started thinking of various ways to attract others' attention. Listening to what Sakurajima Mai said, Chitanda Aru, who had been checking on her mobile phone because she heard Nangong Yang talk about puberty syndrome, said. According to my online research, this symptom seems to be treatable by a psychiatrist, so my senpai just needs to find a psychiatrist. Nangong Yang listened to Chitanda Aru's words and reached out to flick his forehead. As smart as you are, the problem is that now she can't be seen, so how can she find a doctor? Chitanda Aru, who was hit on the forehead, covered his head, but still said sonorously and forcefully. Isn't it you, Nangong Jun? Just use your magical psychic vision to let the doctor see it. Nangong Yang wanted to hit someone after hearing this. Can these abilities be exposed at will? Although he was exposed to these heroines, it was intentionally to increase his mystery. How could he be exposed to other strangers at will? Chitanda Aru, looking at Nangong Yang's dark face, looking like he wanted to hit someone, immediately shrank his head and remained silent. Next to her, Mai Sakurajima saw Nangong Yang rejecting Chitanda Aru's proposal. In addition to disappointment, I was even more panicked and fearful, but I still didn't give up hope and looked at Nangong Yang and said. This junior, senior, I am a very famous actor, and the remuneration will definitely not be small. Before Sakurajima Mai could finish her words, she was interrupted by Nangong Yang. I didn't say I wouldn't help you, it's just that the method Eru just said was too inefficient. After all, the vision I gave you is only temporary. After the vision passes, people will forget you again. This will be troublesome. Chitanda Aru next to him jumped out again at this time. So Nangong-kun, you have another way. Nangong Yang ignored Chitanda Aru's question and continued. Actually, this adolescent syndrome has not always existed. As long as you go through puberty, this symptom will naturally disappear by then. This method is quite simple, just wait. Before Nangong Yang could finish speaking, Mai Sakurajima beside her emotionally rejected the proposal. I don't want to wait for the natural symptoms to clear up, that would be too scary, I will. Saying this, Mai Sakurajima couldn't help but think of that terrifying scene, and unconsciously hugged her shoulders, trembling with fear. Next to me, Chitanda Aru saw it and said, yes, no one can bear to stay in a world where no one can notice me for 2 years. If it were me, I would probably go crazy. Nangong-kun should have another way. Nangong-kun should have another way. Nangong Yang rolled his eyes and was interrupted by you before he could finish his words. Of course, otherwise why would I say so much? It's just that this method has a little impact on my senpai. After hearing this, both of them were a little confused. What would be the impact? Nangong Yang continued. The kind that is bound to me for life and cannot be removed. Misaka, Nani, both Eru and Mai exclaimed. This. Sakurajima Mai stuttered and shook while speaking. My whole face was completely red. Chitanda Eru, on the other hand, has many thoughts, threats, and coercions floating in her head. Looking at the looks of the two of them, Nangong Yang knew that he was overthinking it. I quickly introduced my Insect King contract ability. This made the two of them understand what was going on. So Nangong-kun, you plan to rely on this ability to recover my senpai's puberty syndrome, or make it controllable. It's equivalent to my senpai gaining superpowers, but the price is that she will be bound to you for life. After some analysis, Chitanda Eru gave a simple summary. Just saying this, I feel a little bit uncomfortable, as if my favorite toy has been taken away. On the other hand, Mai Sakurajima felt a little reluctant after knowing what was going on. After all, not every girl can make such an easy decision to bind her whole life to a stranger whom she has only known for less than an hour. Even if you can get benefits and awaken your superpowers. Maybe she felt a little ignorant, but Mai Sakurajima said again with shame and reluctance. Well, besides this method, is there any other way? Nangong Yang saw that Mai Sakurajima was not able to accept this method and knew not to push too hard. Speak again immediately. As for the other method, I'm not sure whether it will work for you. Even if it works, it will only treat the symptoms and not the root cause. It will only restore your sense of existence in a short period of time. So there are no more methods than these. You can see which one you want to choose. The temporary recovery method given by Nangong Yang later was based on the way his own spiritual vision could see Sakurajima Mai. Since I haven't tried it yet, I can't say too much about it. I heard Nangong Yang gave another method, although I am not sure whether it can be done, and it is not a complete recovery. But Mai Sakurajima breathed a sigh of relief. After all, she was bound to her for life from the beginning, which was a bit overwhelming. It's not that Mai Sakurajima hates Nangong Yang, it's just that she's not familiar with him at all and can't even recognize her name. She only knows her surname is Nangong. How to make a call all at once requires at least some familiarity with it for a while. This is what Mai Sakurajima is thinking about. Mai Sakurajima's rejection made Chitanda Eru feel inexplicably relieved. My mind was a little confused, but the smile on my face was not as stiff as before. Immediately said with finality, since my senpai has chosen the temporary recovery method, we might as well try it now. Hearing what Chitanda Eru said, Sakurajima Mai had the idea of recovering as soon as possible, even if it was temporary. Immediately he looked at Nangong Yang with eyes full of hope. Apparently, his desire to recover was already a bit overwhelming. That's no problem, but do you want to recover now? Aren't you going to change your clothes and start again? After Nangong Yang said this, Sakurajima Mai realized that she was still wearing a bunny girl costume. And looking at Nangong Yang's eyes on the other side, he kept glancing at him all the time. I recalled carefully, from where I sat to the resting seat. Nangong Yang's eyes kept looking at himself, but he didn't even react. In the end, it was someone who pointed it out and I realized it. I was so embarrassed that my whole face turned red, and the skin on my body was a little red. Similarly, Nangong Yang's words also reminded Chitanda Eru, who immediately reached out to block Nangong Yang's eyes and said, "Don't look at it, and Senior Mai, go and change your clothes quickly, so as not to give someone an advantage." Hearing this, Mai Sakurajima quickly left her seat and ran to change clothes. However, this made Nangong Yang unwilling. Why can't we watch it? Isn't the reason why we wear clothes just for watching? When you want to take advantage of someone, you're talking about me. Just read my student ID card. Besides, I'm helping Senior Mai unconditionally. I'm just looking at you. Why are you taking advantage of me? What Nangong Yang said so confidently made Chitanda Eru choked up for a moment. It is indeed unconditional help, but there is a price, it is still bound for life. In the end, Chitanda Eru could only hold back 2 words. Shameless. Nangong Yang said shamelessly. Thanks for the compliment. Chitanda Eru was so angry that she didn't realize that Nangong-kun was so thick-skinned. Soon as the two were chatting, Sakurajima Mai had already changed her clothes and came over, holding a paper bag in her hand, which obviously contained bunny girl costumes. After Sakurajima Mai returned to the resting position just now, she asked in a very nervous and expectant mood. Junior Nangong, can we start now? Anytime. Okay, then I'm ready. After finishing speaking, Sakurajima Mai sat upright on the resting seat, looking like she was waiting for something to happen. Even Chitanda Aru sitting next to him sat up straight, expecting something magical to happen. Nangong Yang looked at the two people looking prepared, and felt funny in his heart, but he held it back. Just stood up from the seat opposite Sakurajima Mai, walked around and sat down next to her. This process made Sakurajima Mai even more nervous, and the hair on her head couldn't help but sweat. After sitting down, Nangong Yang turned Sakurajima Mai's face to face him, and then said, "Open your mouth slightly." Mai Sakurajima did as she was told. Nangong Yang couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth when he saw Mai Sakurajima being so obedient. Chitanda Aru, who had been watching from the side, felt an evil intention, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Nangong Yang leaned forward slightly and kissed Sakurajima Mai's lips. This sudden change made Sakurajima Mai stunned, and her eyes widened unconsciously. The strange movement coming from the mouth was like a snake, extremely silky. But among this strange feeling, there is an inexplicable cold energy that pours into the body from the mouth and travels throughout the body. For a moment, I felt like I was in the middle of summer. I drank a glass of ice-cold refreshing drink and jumped into the swimming pool, making me feel cool all over. Such a refreshing feeling made Mai Sakurajima's eyes widen, and she unconsciously turned her eyes white and slowly closed them. It feels so good to go to heaven. This scene made Chitanda Aru, who was watching from the sidelines, completely stunned. Especially looking at Sakurajima Mai, she looked so happy at the end. The whole person changed from a dazed state to a bit sour. The whole person changed from a dazed state to a bit sour. At the same time, I thought to myself, it's just a kiss, is it such an exaggeration? My eyes are turned white. Fortunately, there is no one in the library now, and no one saw this scene. If someone saw it, they would just think that Nangong Yang went crazy and kissed the air. After a period of time, Nangong Yang felt that the spiritual power received in Mai Sakurajima's body had reached the saturation level. Then he pushed Sakurajima Mai, who was completely immersed in the state of spiritual power infusion, away. As Sakurajima Mai was pushed away, Chitanda Airi next to her stepped forward to observe in surprise. During this period, I looked at Mai Sakurajima's small mouth many times, and even spread her lips with her own hands. I want to see why, what has changed. Right now, Mai Sakurajima is still in a state of paralysis and daze after the spiritual power infusion, and has no reaction. Otherwise, I would have to give it to Chitanda Aru, two big mouths. Nangong Yang looked at Chitanda Aru there, constantly tossing Sakurajima Mai, and said speechlessly, "What are you doing?" When Chitanda Aru heard Nangong Yang's words, she took back her hand and said with a matter-of-fact expression, "I'm observing any changes, but I don't see any changes in my senpai." Speaking of this, Chitanda Airi looked at Nangong Yang with a suspicious look. "Nangong-kun, I very much suspect that your behavior just now was intentional and you were taking advantage of Senior Maid. You see, Senior Maid was so shocked that she still hasn't come back to her senses yet." "Nonsense," Nangong Yang immediately retorted with a righteous expression. "This is just a necessary form of treatment for my senpai. Now I'm just in a state of sequelae, and I'll recover in a while." As soon as she finished speaking, Sakurajima Mai had come back to her senses from the state of immersion and enjoyment. At first, I was confused for a while after opening my eyes, and then I felt something abnormal in my mouth. I can't help but think of the scene where Nangong Yang kissed herself just now. Suddenly my face started to turn red and hot, and I also felt extremely ashamed and angry. I'm ashamed that I was so immersed in the kiss just now that I actually felt extremely enjoying it. The angry one was Nangong Yang, who kissed him so shamelessly. In a state of shame and anger, it actually made Sakurajima Mai calm down. But the blush on his face was hard to get rid of. He stared at Nangong Yang and said with resentment, "Scumbag Junior, don't you need to explain your shameless behavior?" Nangong Yang said very calmly about this. "Didn't I explain it?" Sakurajima Mai asked coldly. Don't you have one? Nangong Yang remains calm. Maybe I forgot. Hearing this, Mai Sakurajima almost developed high blood pressure. Chitanda Aru on the side also realized that Nangong Yang was deliberately taking advantage of him, and he was above board and couldn't stop it. I couldn't help but complain. Nangong Jun, you are a nymphomaniac. In response, Nangong Yang stretched out his little finger and picked his ears. He looked like he couldn't hear anything. In fact, Nangong Yang does not need to use kiss to transfer spiritual power, just skin contact is enough. But that would be too much of a loss, as she would have to receive some compensation to deepen her image in Mai Sakurajima's mind. Nangong Yang saw that the two of them were a little angry, so he quickly changed the topic and said to Mai Sakurajima. Senior Mai, you have now recovered to a state where you can be seen by ordinary people. At the same time, feel the difference in your own state. Hearing this, Sakurajima Mai and Chitanda Aru temporarily stopped and suppressed their emotions towards Nangong Yang. Rather than taking advantage of Nangong Yang, the two are more concerned about whether the adolescent syndrome has recovered. But no matter how much she observed, Sakurajima Mai didn't seem to have any special changes, and Chitanda Iri next to her didn't notice anything either. Nangong Yang looked at the two people sitting stupidly in their positions, constantly groping and observing, and couldn't help but rolled his eyes and said, What can you two discover while sitting here? Go outside and see if anyone can see it. After hearing what Nangong Yang said, the two of them suddenly realized that they almost cried because of their stupidity. Sakurajima Mai didn't hesitate, got up and walked to the library, where there were many people. Chitanda Iri followed. Soon the two came to the bookshelf containing Chinese history. Mai Sakurajima took the initiative to block the direction of the two elementary school girls. The two elementary school girls noticed someone blocking their way. When they looked up, they found it was Mai Sakurajima, a celebrity in the school. He quickly stepped aside and greeted him. Sakurajima senpai, okay. After being greeted, Mai Sakurajima showed a little excitement on her face. But he was quickly suppressed, replied with a cold expression, and walked away. The two elementary school girls breathed a sigh of relief. They looked at Mai Sakurajima walking away and whispered to each other. A well-known actress like Sakurajima senpai feels so oppressive around her that I dare not speak loudly. However, these small words were heard by Mai Sakurajima, who was walking away. When I looked back, I realized that I was quite far away from the two elementary school girls. How could I hear what they were whispering? Chitanda Aru on the side looked extremely excited after discovering that Sakurajima Mai could be seen by two elementary school girls. I was very curious about the reason, so in order to observe and verify it, I dragged Sakurajima Mai, who was still stunned, to a place where there were more people. Soon the two of them walked around the library and found that everyone could see Mai Sakurajima. The two returned to the resting seat where Nangong Yang was sitting. When Sakurajima Mai came back, she seemed extremely excited, her hands were trembling a little, and the uneasy feeling in her heart finally let go. You don't have to worry about yourself all the time, disappearing completely, and being completely isolated from the world. In the same way, Chitanda Iri was very excited and kept tapping something on her phone. Nangong Yang looked around and saw that he was taking notes on his mobile phone. What is recorded is the analysis of Mai Sakurajima's puberty syndrome. Don't you remember that Chitanda Aru had this habit? Then Nangong Yang looked at the excited Sakurajima Mai and said, How's it going? How do you feel now? After hearing the question, Mai Sakurajima calmed down a little and said, It feels good. It can be seen by everyone in the library. I think it has been restored. Hearing this, Nangong Yang couldn't help but interrupt and said, I'll interrupt you. I haven't fully recovered yet, this is just temporary. After saying this, Mai Sakurajima became a little silent, forgetting for a moment that this was a temporary recovery. Seeing Sakurajima Mai's silence, Nangong Yang consoled her. De nuo Jiao, don't worry, it will be fine. Do you feel anything special? Hearing this, Sakurajima Mai fell into deep thought. After thinking about it carefully, I thought of those two elementary school girls. I could hear the whispers between them from more than 10 meters away. Tell Nangong Yang about this strange situation that you discovered. Hearing this strange situation, Chitanda Aru, who was still tapping her phone frantically, came to her senses. Apparently he was attracted by this strange situation. Nangong Yang thought for a moment and said to Mai Sakurajima. Put your hand over here, let me see. Hearing this, although Sakurajima Mai looked a little shy, she still extended her hand to Nangong Yang. She gently held Mai Sakurajima's tender hand, feeling the softness on it. I couldn't control it for a while, so I rubbed it a few times. The opposite party, Mai Sakurajima, rolled her eyes at Nangong, and Chitanda Aru unconsciously cast a look of contempt. Nangong Yang immediately withdrew his mind and sensed it with his spiritual power. I immediately understood why. Senior Mai, this is the passive strengthening effect of me transmitting spiritual power to your whole body. To put it simply, it means that your whole body functions are strengthened and improved, but the improvement will not be much, about 10%. Hearing this, Sakurajima Mai's eyes couldn't help but light up. Such a good thing happened. A 10% improvement in body function is already a lot, and can even easily break various sports events. Become the top genius among humans. Before Sakurajima Mai could start thinking about the future, Nangong Yang dealt a painful blow. Because of the passive strengthening and upgrading effects, the spiritual power I transfer into your body can only last for about a day. Nangong Yang's meaning is obvious when he says this. That is to say, you only have 1 day to recover, and after 1 day you will be knocked back to your original shape. After hearing this, Mai Sakurajima shuddered. In just 1 day, he has to return to a state where he cannot be observed. How can he bear this? After all, if you have seen the light, how can you endure the darkness? On the other hand, Chitanda Iri next to her was attracted by the 10% improvement in body functions. As a top student, Chitanda Aru is very aware that the overall body function can be improved by 10%. The difference between a genius and a fool made Chitanda Aru a little excited and couldn't help but ask Minami Naoyang. Nangong Jun, how about you come and give me an all-round improvement, preferably without kissing, okay? As he spoke, Sentai Tien Eru blinked his cute big purple eyes, holding Nangong Yang's clothes and shaking them. Obviously he wants to defeat Nangong Yang with his cute attack, and then use his spiritual power for free. Nangong Yang laughed when he heard this, reached out and touched Chitanda Aru's head, and said with a smile. Your idea is very good. Chitanda Aru couldn't help but smile when she heard half of this. Quote. Don't think about it again. Just half of the smile appeared, but it immediately collapsed again. The cute attack was declared a failure. Looking at Chitanda Aru, who was completely silent, Nangong Yang showed a satisfied smile, thinking that there was no way to use prostitution for spiritual power. Then Nangong Yang looked at Mai Sakurajima, who was still in a limp state, and said, I have something to tell you. Just now you were looking for someone to verify it in the library. I also discovered a detail. Senior Mai, every time you disappear from other people's sight, they will quickly forget about you. I saw you walking around, the students who have met you. After you are out of sight, I will forget about you, even if I am chatting about you. I also suddenly forget what I wanted to say. Quote. Listening to what Nangong Yang said again, Sakurajima Mai's expression became even worse. What is this? Only half of ADBJ restored. Only when you appear in the field of vision of others will you think of yourself. Chitanda Aru, who was listening next to her, thought this was amazing. I was very curious, so I took Mai Sakurajima to experiment. It should be said that she is indeed Chitanda Aru. Her mobility is also very good and she can do whatever she says. When the two came back from the experiment again, they found that it was exactly what Nangong Yang said. Mai Sakurajima will only be discovered when she appears in the field of vision of others. Or make a sound so that people can listen and discover it. Looking at the two people who came back, especially Sakurajima Mai looked a little disappointed. Nangong Yang said speechlessly, I have said before that this temporary method only treats the symptoms but not the root cause. It is normal for such a situation to occur. Besides, in fact, this situation has no impact on you. Even for a popular actor like you, it's not better. It won't attract too much attention from others, such as paparazzi and so on. Besides, it's not easy to completely recover. Didn't I give you a method? Saying this, Nangong Yang smiled at Mai Sakurajima, and the meaning was obvious. When Sakurajima Mai heard this, she didn't understand what Nangong Yang meant. She secretly spat, but still responded. I will think about it. The response was very vague. But Nangong Yang didn't care, instead he talked about something else. Senior Mai, you know, I spent a lot of energy in order to temporarily restore you. Look at the reward. Saying this, Nangong Yang made a money gesture. The most important thing is that this temporary recovery method must be used once a day. In fact, it doesn't matter if you get paid once or twice. But if it happens too often, I'll have to work for free, so my senpai won't be willing to let me work for free. When Nangong Yang said this, Sakurajima Mai next to him almost said, of course I am willing to let you work for free. But he still restrained himself very well. After all, Junior Nangong was the only person in front of him who could help him. Then he saw Mai Sakurajima, with a charming smile on her face, and said, no problem, Junior, of course I won't let you work part-time. After hearing what Sakurajima Mai said, Nangong Yang had already revealed her bank card number without any hesitation. If there is any procrastination, it means irresponsibility for money and oneself. Nangong Yang believes in equal exchange for those who have not completely become his family, even the heroine. Only by becoming one's own dependence and being completely controlled by oneself will one be able to help unconditionally. After all, he has complete control over the life and death of his family members. If he gives something unconditionally, what will he get in return? When Mai Sakurajima saw Nangong Yang reporting her bank card number so simply, she had no idea of any special treatment because she was a beautiful girl. Mai Sakurajima couldn't help but doubt her own charm. He actually didn't let the junior in front of him get any privileges because of his beauty. I can only say that girls' thinking is very unique. After Mai Sakurajima wrote down the card number, Naoyang reported it to me very wisely. Restore 20,000 yen at a time. When Mai Sakurajima heard this, she quickly made 2 operations on it and transferred 20,000 yen. After a while, Nangong Yang heard the sound of bank transfer coming from his mobile phone. He immediately said respectfully, thank you, Boss Mai. After hearing this, Mai Sakurajima got goosebumps, rubbed her arms and said, okay, don't be a good boy. I have temporarily solved the problem, right? Nangong Yang answered in the affirmative. Certainly. I thought at the same time. This was the first time I met Sakurajima Mai, so there was no interaction at all. He couldn't win it all at once, unlike the other 4 dependents he collected, who were all taken care of by him under special circumstances. This time I can only grind Sakurajima Mai slowly. At this time, I was watching the PY transaction between the 2 of them, Chiyasuda Aru Nakamichi. Senior Mai, given your current special situation, would you like to join our classical literature club? In the future, temporary treatment can also be carried out directly in the club, which will be much more convenient. After hearing this, Mai Sakurajima felt that it was very feasible. After all, she would have to fight a protracted battle with puberty syndrome in the future. I agreed immediately. Chitanda Aru was very happy about this, and immediately called Nangong Yang and Sakurajima Mai, and went to the classical literature department together. Just on the way back to the Department of Classical Literature, I overheard a few students talking. Hey, did you know? A group of gangsters gathered in front of the school, seeming to be blocking people. Yes, it's so scary. There seem to be hundreds of gangsters in the group at the school gate. I don't know who is so unlucky. Nangong Yang and the others were a little surprised when they heard the news, but they didn't care either. Nangong Yang and the others were a little surprised when they heard the news, but they didn't care. The few students who were talking had already ran towards the school gate while they were talking. Obviously he just wanted to go there and join in the fun. After all, it is human nature to watch the fun. Even when Nangong Yang heard the news, he wanted to run and have a look. But now I still have something to do, let's get it done first. Unconsciously, I speeded up my way to the Department of Classical Literature. Soon the 3 of them came to the club. Chitanda Aru entered the club. I immediately went to pull out the club's enrollment form, put it on the table, and took out a pen at the same time. After doing this, he waved happily to Sakurajima Mai. Senior Mai, come here and fill out the form to join our club. Sakurajima Mai looked at Chitanda Aru, who was very happy, and waved to her, and said in confusion as she walked over. Senior Aru seems to be very happy about me joining the classical literature club. Why? While talking, my Sakurajima came to the table and started filling out the club form. Nangong Yang followed from behind, sat aside and explained. Because if the club doesn't bring in some people, it will be abolished. Will this not make her anxious? While talking, Nangong Yang lay on the table and looked at the two beautiful girls in the club. In fact, there is one thing that Nangong Yang has never understood. There are obviously such beautiful girls in the club. Why is no one willing to join? I have to join those clubs with many people. Isn't it nice to have only one person in a club, and she is a girl? She is still the kind who is extremely beautiful. Even if she can't get picked up, it would be great to join a club to be eye-catching. What's more, there is a saying that goes well, those who are near the water and the towers first get the moon. Now that I can get in touch with people every day, if a spark of love develops one day, it will be very profitable. I really don't understand what the little boy from Sakura country is thinking. Quickly, my Sakurajima filled out the form and handed it to Chitanda Irie. Chitanda Irie put it away and prepared to give it to the club teacher tomorrow. In this way, Sakurajima Mai has completely joined the club. Chitanda Irie announced after finishing the matter. From now on, there are 3 people in our club, and there is still 1 person left. When the time comes, you will see who can be recommended. Also, today's club time is already very late, and I declare that the club activities are officially over. Sakurajima Mai was a little confused when she heard this. What kind of club activity is this? Throwing his questions to Nangong Yang. The club activities are looking for you. Because of your urban legend, we have been looking for you for almost a week, and this is even excluding the Golden Week time. Having said this, Nangong Yang, who got up to pack his things, asked curiously. Where were you hiding in the school and why didn't we find you? If you had found it earlier, you wouldn't have been sick for so long. Hearing this, my Sakurajima seemed a little embarrassed. Chitanda Aru, who heard this next to her, also came over to see what my Sakurajima said. In fact, the earliest invisible symptoms appeared at school. Because I was completely unobservable in school at that time, I had to go outside the school to see if I could find someone to help me. Nangong Yang couldn't help but laugh when he heard this. If you had continued to wander around the school, I would have discovered you long ago, but you just ran outside the school. No wonder I couldn't find you. Saying this, my Sakurajima felt a little embarrassed. I don't know. Okay, let's not talk anymore. The club is over and it's time to leave. After packing his things, Nangong Yang picked up his bag and walked out. Chitanda Aru and Sakurajima Mai also followed. Halfway through, Nangong Yang turned around and walked towards the waiter on the other side. The other 2 women were curious. Nangong Yang didn't go back so late. Why go to another club? Are you following too? Soon the 3 of them came to the service department. Nangong Yang pulled the door of the club and found that it was locked. I took out my phone and looked at line, and sure enough it showed that a message had been sent. Yui, I didn't see you in the classical literature department. 10 minutes ago. Yui. Then Yukino and I will go back first. Little bear waves. 8 minutes ago. Nangong. Okay. Nangong Yang took back the phone after replying to the message. Looking at the 2 beautiful girls who were still around him, he couldn't help but ask. Why don't you leave yet? Chitanda Aru said very naturally. Waiting for you. I'm also curious about what you are doing here. Hearing this, Nangong Yang couldn't help but touch his forehead with one hand. What's so curious about this? This curious baby is really hard to resist. My Sakurajima on the side looked at the name hanging on the club, Service Club, and said. I remember this seems to be the club of the school's famous iceberg beauty, Yukinoshita Yukino. It seems that the scumbag junior has an ulterior secret. Nangong Yang couldn't help rolling his eyes after hearing this. What kind of secret can there be? And Sister Mai, you are also snobbish. When he is useful, he calls him Junior Nangong. When he is not useful, he calls him Junior Scumbag. Quote. Watch my back, I'll give you some shoes to wear. For a moment, my Sakurajima was speechless and did not dare to refute. If you really have to wear small shoes, it will be a big mistake if you don't restore yourself the next day. After all, I still don't know who Junior Nangong is. Okay, since the club is closed, let's go. Looking out the window, the sky was getting darker, and he immediately urged. After hearing this, the two of them stopped procrastinating and followed Nangong Yang downstairs side by side and walked out of the school. Ruan discovered it just when he was walking towards the school gate. There are many students at the school gate, and they don't know what they are doing there. Nangong Yang thought of the mixed group in the previous student conversation. As the three of them walked in, they saw a sparse group of Sobu High students waiting at the door. Nangong Yang walked up to a male student, patted him on the shoulder and asked, "What's going on at this classmate's door? He doesn't go home after school, and what is he doing blocking the door?" The male student who was photographed was startled and stared back in annoyance. But after seeing Nangong Yang, who is 1.8 meters tall and has a strong build, he immediately shrank and became weak. Because a group of gangsters gathered at the school gate, numbering nearly 100 people. But there are no people blocking our school, so I don't know what these gangsters are going to do. Some people who are still in school gathered at the door to see what these gangsters are going to do. Nangong Yang and the other three were very surprised when they heard this. If it wasn't to block people, why would they gather at the school gate? Nangong Yang doesn't understand. Chitanda Iri next to her continued to ask the male student in front of her. Isn't there a teacher in charge? When the male student saw such a beautiful girl asking a question, he immediately stuttered and replied. Yes, there was a teacher who came up to talk to these gangsters and left without knowing what he said. Anyway, this group of gangsters didn't leave. Quote, Nangong Yang looked at it without asking any questions and patted the male student in front of him on the shoulder. Thank you, classmate, and you can continue to watch the fun. After saying that, Nangong Yang pushed him back into the crowd. Ignoring the boy, he still wanted to continue talking to Chitanda Iri. Mai Sakurajima, who saw this scene next to her, couldn't help but sneer. Junior Nangong is really overbearing. Chitanda Iri on the side did not understand. Domineering. What domineering? What are you talking about? I can't hear you clearly, and I advise you to think carefully before speaking. Nangong Yang ignored Chitanda Iru's reaction and made a few hints intentionally or unintentionally. Mai Sakurajima was so angry that she was itching her teeth, but there was nothing she could do. After all, someone was still holding on to the matter. Seeing Sakurajima Mai, she had nothing to say. He immediately walked towards the school gate and said at the same time, "Let's go, it's just a group of gangsters gathered outside the door, just ignore it." Let's go, it's just a group of gangsters gathered outside the door, just ignore them. After saying that, Nangong Yang led the two of them through the crowd of Sobu High School students and walked out. Like Nangong Yang, there are students who don't care about the undesirable gathering around. For example, Busujima Seiko, who had just finished her club activities, was holding a wooden knife made of walnut wood before Nangong Yang. He walked straight out of the school. The group of delinquents outside the school only glanced at him for appreciation and paid no attention to him. Busujima Seiko let him, with a slightly disappointed look in his eyes. Obviously he was expecting that these bad guys were here to cause trouble for him. However, the expectations were dashed. The group of bad guys gathered at the school gate were obviously looking for someone else. After passing through this group of bad guys, Busujima Seiko did not walk away immediately. Instead, he found a drink shop where he could see the situation outside the school gate, ordered a drink and sat down to rest. Obviously they are also curious, who are these so many bad guys gathering here waiting for? Here, Nangong Yang and the others passed through the crowd of students and finally saw the bad guy outside the door. The 410 police officers at the school gate do not directly block the door, but are scattered around the school gate, standing or sitting to rest. It does not prevent Sobu High students from going back after school. It's just Sobu High School students who will be watched by them on the way out of the school gate. I don't know if it was an illusion, but when Nangong Yang walked out of the school gate, he walked out. These bad eyes kept looking at Nangong Yang, unlike other students who only glanced once or twice and then looked away. Such behavior made Nangong Yang frown slightly, and Sakurajima Mai and Chitanda Iri next to him also felt it. The two of them felt uncomfortable and leaned slightly closer to Nangong Yang. In response to this, Nangong Yang could only speed up his pace slightly and planned to leave as soon as possible. But I thought in my heart, you shouldn't be here to find me, right? However, there are unpredictable events in the sky, and misfortunes and blessings may happen to people. When the three of Nangongyang were about to completely pass through the bad gathering place, the group of bad guys scattered everywhere seemed to have received some message at the same time. Everyone stood up from their resting state. The sudden behavior made Nangongyang's muscles tense up and put him on alert. It's not that Nangongyang is afraid, it's just that there are two delicate girls standing behind him, so he needs to take precautions. Before Nangongyang left the school gate, several delinquents gathered in a department store next to Sobu High School, and the boss didn't know where he was hiding. The first among these delinquents are two delinquent brothers. At the same time, there are several yellow hairs among this group of delinquents, and these yellow hairs all have obvious characteristics. That is, a medical brace is strapped to the chin. If Nangongyang were here, he would definitely understand why a group of bad guys gathered in front of the school. These are the yellow-haired gangsters that Nangongyang taught him a lesson last time when he had barbecue. Obviously, these yellow men have found their boss to take revenge. As for this bad brother, he is the Mikami brother from Suzerain High School. I saw those yellow guys giving brother Mikami 2 cigarettes very respectfully. At the same time he said very flatteringly, "Brother Mikami, we have investigated it. That kid studied in this school and is still participating in club activities. But it looks like the time should be out soon now." Quote, among these Huang Mao who was beaten, the first one who was beaten the worst stood up and said, "Brothers, this is the selling fee I specially prepared, 500,000 yen. I hope the two eldest brothers will accept it and break all the hands, feet and teeth of that boy." Quote, obviously, this Huang Mao has extreme resentment towards Nangongyang. Brother Mikami also smiled when he looked at the money handed over by Huang Mao. After all, if you come out to seek justice for your little brother, you can also make extra money and gain prestige at the same time. Why not do it? Brother Mikami replied immediately. "Good boy, you have a bright future, I'm very optimistic about you." While speaking, he even patted his shoulders with both hands to show encouragement. The Huang Mao in front of him seemed extremely excited, wishing he could swear filial piety and loyalty on the spot and work hard for him. After all, it is very rare to get appreciation and praise from the brothers Mikami in front of him. After all, the two brothers in front of them can be regarded as high-level monsters in Suzerain High School. Although it is not as powerful as the group of monsters on the top floor, it is not comparable to ordinary people. At this time, the two Mikami brothers thought of something and said, "When that kid appears later, I will surround him first and then forcefully take him to another place. The school teacher here just now came over to warn us not to fight at the school gate. Although I'm not afraid of that teacher, I don't want to cause too much trouble. Do you know what to do?" "I understand, Brother Mikami." Several Wang Mao responded immediately. While these people were still chatting, another yellow man ran in outside the door and shouted sharply, "Brother Mikami, that guy is out." When I heard this, Brother Mikami informed me, "Quickly pass on the information and ask them to surround me with that kid." Yes, when I saw the leader, Huang Mao, he immediately took out his cell phone and started tapping, and the message was sent out within a short time. "Then let's go, I want to see who is the idiot who beat my little brother like this." While talking, Sanzu, who was wearing a mask, shouted and called everyone out. On the other side, Nangongyang looked at the nearly 100 people in front of him, surrounding the three of him. Nangongyang, who is on alert, knows that he has very high martial arts, and also has extraordinary abilities such as avatars and spells. But in public, these extraordinary abilities are not easy to use openly. But even if he relies on pure force, Nangongyang is not afraid of the hundreds of villains in front of him. It's just that it's hard to take care of the two pretty girls behind, so Nangongyang is on guard to prevent them from shooting directly past Nangongyang and injuring the two people behind him. The group of bad guys who surrounded them obviously had no intention of taking action immediately. It seemed that he was waiting for the person in charge to come over. However, when the three of Nangongyang were surrounded, the group of students who had been watching at the school gate exploded. After all, nearly 100 people suddenly gathered from scattered places, which was quite a visual impact. But among this group of Sobu High students, there are a few students from Class F. They are Hayama Hayabusa and Miura Yoshiko's current team of 6 people, while Uegahama Yui went back with Yukinoshita Yukino. Seeing the situation in front of her, Miura Yoshiko felt the kindness in her heart prompting her to express her worries about her classmates. The person being surrounded seems to be Nangong Yang from our class. Should we go find teacher Jing and see how to solve it? After all, they are also our classmates. At the same time, there is also consideration for Uegahama Yui's friend. As soon as Miura Yuko finished speaking, Shotobi next to her retorted. I don't think it's necessary anymore. Nangong is actually able to provoke bad guys outside the school. After all, he is also a bad person, so we don't need to take care of him at all. There was a hint of gloating in his words. Uka and Yamato next to him both agreed. Yes, if this is a bad internal matter, if we inform the teacher, we will be accused of being nosy. So we can just watch from the sidelines. The two people's meaning was also very obvious. They didn't want to meddle in other people's business, they just wanted to watch the fun. Hayama Hayato, who was about to say something next to him, saw that all 3 of his friends had said the same thing, so he stopped talking. Hayama Hayato, as everyone, would naturally not refute his friend. After all, he was not familiar with Nangong Yang. Seeing the attitude of several boys not helping, but wanting to watch the excitement, Miura Yuiko felt that the boys in front of her were so hateful. It's not even half-term since school started, and Miura Yuko doesn't have any feelings for Hayama Hayato, the current top student. All I can say is that each of them is at the top of their current game, and we just have something to talk about. Abina Himina next to her also frowned. After all, Nangong Yang is also a classmate. He just wants to die without saving her, but he still wants to watch the other party's excitement. The words of several boys made Miura Yuko frown and frown. What kind of men are you guys? Go and inform a teacher, and you're still so nagging. Isn't it because he is afraid of the revenge of those bad guys? Let's go Jikai, the 2 of us will inform teacher Jing. I believe teacher Jing will be able to find a solution. I saw Yuko Miura glare at the boys' group and drag Abina Hina to run towards the school. Miura Yuko's words made several boys look at each other. In fact, what Miura Yuko said in the end was right, especially Tobi Sho, Uka, and Yamato. These 3 people are very afraid of the bad guys outside and don't want to get involved with the bad guys at all. Nangong Yang, who was surrounded, looked at the bad guy in front of him and said coldly, "What do you want to do by blocking my way back?" As he spoke, Nangong Yang looked at the group of delinquents in front of him, as if he were looking at a group of cripples. Nangong Yang has made up his mind that all of today's group of bad guys will be beaten until they are crippled for life. When the time comes, just find the Shinomiya family and take care of things here. As for the public, all these bad deeds were eliminated. That is impossible, otherwise I will be sent back to the Dragon Kingdom the next day and have to go back to prison. Even with the Shinomiya family in charge, they can't suppress this kind of thing. At most, they won't have to serve jail time after being sent back to the Dragon Kingdom. However, the villain in front of him did not respond at all to Nangong Yang's question, but instead laughed. "Boy, the look in your eyes seems very unpleasant to me. Being surrounded by us and still being dragged like this, boy, aren't you afraid of death?" While talking, several delinquents around him began to move forward, causing Mai Sakurajima and Iri Chitanda who were hiding behind Nangong Yang to shrink back. After all, this is the first time for Mai Sakurajima and Iri Chitanda to be surrounded by so many bad guys. There were nearly 100 people, all standing shoulder to shoulder, looking extremely oppressive, especially each one exuding a bad temperament. Even people like Sakurajima Mai, who often attends various occasions and has many fans, feel scared. After all, there is a difference between fans gathering and bad gatherings. Chitanda Aru, who was hiding behind Nangong Yang, cheered up and said sharply, "You are gathering a crowd illegally and it is against the law. I advise you to leave as soon as possible, otherwise I will call the police. I want to scare away these bad guys by calling the police and breaking the law. Yes, and I am a well-known actor. If something happens to me, each of you will receive a letter from my lawyer and accept public opinion from the internet." Next to her, Mai Sakurajima stood up and threatened her with a lawyer's letter and public opinion. It's just that the 2 of them don't understand at all. The reason why a bad person is that he doesn't study well, is uneducated, and has no brains. As long as they have these concepts, they will not become bad. When these bad guys heard the threats from the two girls, they all said with their arms akimbo and laughing, "What's the point of this? Isn't it just going to the warning hall for a meal? What's there to be afraid of?" For this group of delinquents, committing a crime is nothing more than going to the Metropolitan Police Department and eating pork chop rice for a few days. What a big deal it can be. As for the lawyer's letter, it's even more funny. For them, it's completely unclear. The ridicule of these bad guys made him hide behind Nangong Yang. Chitanda Iri and Sakurajima Mai were so angry that they were playing the piano to each other. Nangong Yang looked at the bad guy who kept smiling in front of him, turned around and said to the two people behind him, "It's best to close your eyes and don't look at it, otherwise it will be a little bloody." Hearing what Nangong Yang said, Chitanda Aru and Sakurajima Mai were a little confused. Nangong Yang clenched his fists and stepped forward to punch the opponent in the eye. This move can be described as extremely vicious, and the punch is like an afterimage. I saw a flash of white light, and there was a loud explosion between Bad and Nangong Yang. The bad guys that surrounded him were blown shut by the sonic boom cloud. The gangster who received this blow flew up directly on his back, with his face sunken. As he flew up, two irregular round objects were vaguely thrown out with brushed wires. The bad thing is to forcefully knock out a path from the crowd behind. As for the bad guy who received the punch, he flew out of the encirclement and lay on the ground bleeding, not knowing whether he was alive or dead. The sudden scene made nearly 100 delinquents around him stunned for a moment. Then something bad happened, and he opened his eyes and saw the two irregular round objects on the ground. Suddenly, a chill ran down my spine, my legs went limp, I knelt on the ground and let out a scream. Ah! The sudden shout made all the bad guys look at him one after another. Mai Sakurajima and Aru Chitanda, who just opened their eyes, also want to look at the time. Nangong Yang reached out to stop him. "You two, it's better not to take it too seriously." Hearing this, the two of them thought of what the bad guy had just shouted. I couldn't help but feel a chill all over my body, trembled a little, and immediately stopped looking away. When a group of bad guys saw the two irregular round objects on the ground, they all fell back in fright, with cold sweat breaking out on their heads, and their legs, feet and buttocks were trembling. The delinquents looked at Nangong Yang with fearful expressions, and their legs and feet moved back unconsciously. This guy is extremely ruthless. His first attack is a sure blow, and he even punched out two of his eyes. And looking at the irregularity of those two eyes, it's obviously useless to put them back. A group of delinquents, just come out to show off, but I don't want to be really crippled or killed. Nangong Yang looked at the group of bad guys in front of him, feeling a little afraid and wanting to retreat. It seems that the cruel attack just now has an effect. I plan to take Iri Chitanda and Mai Sakurajima away first, and then come back to deal with these idiots. Before Nangong Yang could take away the two of them, the passage was blasted out just now. Walking into a group of people, Nangong Yang took a closer look and understood instantly. It turned out to be the yellow guys from the barbecue restaurant last time. They all looked like they had medical braces under their necks. Obviously, today's group of bad guys are the ones who came to take revenge on themselves. And Nangong Yang noticed the two people in front of this group of yellow hairs. These are the Mikami brothers from Suzerain High School, and Nangong Yang can feel the active life energy from the two of them. Obviously, the Mikami brothers are definitely martial artists who have mastered chi and blood. Nangong Yang quietly put his hand into his left pocket, which contained the gourmet peanuts Lily Shuanghua gave him today. It seems that if you have some gourmet peanuts on hand, you will be well prepared. Take the gourmet peanuts out of your pocket, throw them into your mouth and chew them. Feeling the power radiating from the body makes you feel confident. After all, when facing a martial artist for the first time, you still have to be cautious. After all, martial artists are not as brainless as ferocious beasts. Instead, there are various calculations and techniques. I saw that the passage that Nangong Yang blasted was blocked again as the Mikami brothers approached. The bad guys around were like the backbone coming back, and the fear in their hearts began to subside, and they started shouting at Nangong Yang again. But when Nangong Yang glanced over, he started to misfire again. Only when you look away can you dare to continue calling. At this time, the Mikami brothers looked extremely gloomy. They had just come out of the department store and were walking this way happily. Halfway through, I heard a sonic explosion and saw a passage opened in the encirclement, and a person flew out. When Mikami's brothers came forward to check, they found that his head had been dented and his 2 eyeballs had gone missing. The blood on the head is constantly flowing out, and the whole person is taking in less air and exhaling more. After quickly taking care of the younger brothers around him and providing first aid, the Mikami brothers angrily walked towards the passage created by the encirclement. Brother Mikami looked at Nangong Yang, who was wearing glasses and looked very gentle. I didn't expect that he would be so ruthless, and he was a martial artist, and his life energy was actually richer than the 2 of us brothers. It seems that the idea is a bit tricky, but after the little brother was beaten like this just now, it is obvious that he cannot just let it go. But I still have to find out the bottom and speak immediately. What do you call this, brother? Hearing this, Nangong Yang sneered. You come to block me, you don't know my name. On the side, the younger brother of the Mikami brothers, Mikami Go, stroked his long yellow hair and said, Brother, did you act too harshly just now? Don't you know the rules on the road? Those who are my enemies will not regret their death. Nangong Yang just replied lightly. Brothers Mikami, looking at Nangong Yang's indifferent expression, obviously don't take these 2 brothers seriously. After all, my 2 brothers are also martial artists who practice blood energy. Immediately the 2 of them started to look fiercely in their eyes. The energy and blood in my body began to surge. Nangong Yang could sense that the 2 people's blood began to boil. Immediately said to Chitanda Aru and Sakurajima Mai, You 2 better close your eyes, this is going to be pretty bloody. After finishing speaking, he ignored the 2 of them. Directly activate Insect King summons. Summon Yatsugamiko's God of Violence. Then he saw 12 Insect King chains sticking out from Nangong Yang's back. The arrow of one of the chains began to expand and change, and soon it turned into the appearance of the God of Violence. In order to prevent the upcoming battle from becoming too supernatural, Nangong Yang possessed the God of Violence to himself. After all, this weird world has a broad understanding of martial artists. It's not surprising how high its combat effectiveness is. However, for the profession of spiritual exterminator, the state only allows it to be developed secretly and cannot be put on the bright side, so as not to cause turmoil in the country or the world. After all, no one wants to believe that the world is full of ghosts and evil spirits. In short, the perception of people in this world is quite strange. No matter how high the combat power added by martial arts is, they think it is normal. However, all kinds of strange magic techniques are considered to be strange powers and gods, and are fake. These are the perceptions that the state deliberately guides ordinary people to have. So Nangong Yang will try to tilt the fight towards the martial artist. At the same time, the remaining 11 chains were extended backward to surround Chitanda Aru and Sakurajima Mai behind, forming a defensive position. The 2 of them are Nangong Yang's current constraints, so they naturally have to be protected. After all, they are also his goals to take as his family. Because neither of them could see the substitute, they only felt as if they were surrounded by something. Nangong Yang's series of preparations and thoughts only happened in a flash. Brother San Sheng's blood was just boiling, and Nangong Yang took the lead without respecting martial ethics and beat the 3rd boy in the mask. The 30-ton punch explosion he carries plus the 10-ton punch power explosion of the stand-in. It hit the masked man in the face like a giant beast, and punched him away, knocking away the bad guys behind him. Shanhao next to him saw Nangong Yang's explosive punching power being so terrifying. He immediately did not dare to be careless and directly circulated qi and blood quickly throughout his body. Let him strengthen his whole body, pull away and kick Nangong Yang. This kick brought no less power than Nangong Yang had just punched. Obviously, with the blessing of qi and blood, his strength is directly raised to a level similar to Nangong Yang. Nangong Yang also doesn't shy away from the other party. Turn around and strike with a knife. With the current combined strength of his own power and the power of his substitute, he has about 40 tons. As long as he hits the second time with 80 tons of power, he can be killed instantly. Although I haven't developed chi and blood yet, I can use it to strengthen myself. But the blessing of the double is not bad, and there is also the assistance of ability. As the first hand knife collided with Shanhao's leg, a wave of air broke out between the two. Then he turned around and closed his hand, preparing for the next blow. In order to give full play to the advantages of the violent god, Nangong Yang completely gave up defense. Pushing forward very recklessly, he allowed Mikami Go to punch himself in the cheek, causing ripples on Nangong Yang's face. The nerves in the eyes began to become congested, and the vision became blood red. Nangong Yang also punched back, doubling the attack strength. What is apparent is that the sonic boom cloud caused by this punch is even greater. Directly 40 tons of force, double the force of 80 tons. This punch gave Mikami a strong sense of crisis. He only had time to put his hands in front of his face. All the energy and blood in his body were concentrated in his arms. There was just a booming sound, like a cannonball exploding. Mikami Go flew into the sky as if he was hit by a big mountain. It flew nearly 10 meters high. Mikami Go's hands and forearms were completely broken in the airborne state, with only part of the skin connected. His chest collapsed slightly and he was unconscious. All the bones, flesh and blood inside were blown away. The Mikami brothers' original strength was only about 10 tons. Even with enhanced energy and blood, it would be close to 40 tons. How to withstand the impact of Nangong Yang's 80-ton force? Finally, he fell to the ground, unable to resist anymore. It was said very slowly, but the fight lasted only a moment or 2 or 3 seconds. Mikami hadn't even finished school yet, but when he recovered from the first punch, his brother Mikami Go was beaten with both hands and fell to the ground in a coma. The bad guys next to me haven't reacted yet. Nangong Yang won't wait for these bad reactions to come over. Just rush forward, target the bad guys in front of you with punches and kicks, all aimed at their hands and feet. All aimed at complete comminuted fractures. However, this group of delinquents came from Suzerain High School after all, so they are naturally a bit bloody. As long as the boss is still there and has not lost, they have nothing to fear. One by one shouted and rushed forward. A few clever ones even went around to the back. I want to capture Sakurajima Mai or Chitanda Aru as a threat. However, Nangong Yang surrounded the two women with chains, forming a defensive position. It's impossible for this group of bad guys to get close. With Nangong Yang, 1/5 of all bad players were eliminated. The masked man from Sanzu School was temporarily short-circuited by Nangong Yang's first punch. Finally coming back to his senses, he looked at the chaotic scene in front of him, especially when he saw his brother lying on the ground with his hands broken and disabled. It was still the kind of thing that couldn't possibly be good, and he immediately became furious. He took out the special military knife directly from his back. Rushing towards Nangong Yang, all the energy and blood in his body circulated to the extreme. He increased his speed to the extreme, and his body grew stronger unconsciously. With the special saber in his hand as the tip, like a bull, a car hits the central and southern Chongyang festival. Nangong Yang, who was killing everyone in the gang, felt the crisis. Turning around, he saw Sanzu Shui, who was almost approaching him, and the special saber in his hand. His expression looked even colder, and there was a little murderous intention in his heart. Because God of Violence requires combos to trigger damage stacking. The punch just now knocked him far away, so there was no combo. But fortunately, his own strength alone can suppress the other party. Even if the opponent's chi and blood are strengthened, it will only increase the strength to about 40 tons. With the blessing of a substitute, it can reach 40 tons. If coupled with the full strengthening of spiritual power, it can be close to 70 tons. Immediately spread the spiritual power throughout the body. The violent spirit in his body is looming. Before it hit him, he held its blade with one hand and swung a heavy blow to his head with all his strength with the other hand. Although this blow was not as violent as the one he gave Mikami Go just now. But it's enough. Fortunately, Sanzu woke up in the end, concentrated his energy and blood defense on his face, and tilted his neck back slightly to save his life. The head was not completely blown out. Just under this punch, the jaw was completely shattered. A layer of skin was scraped off, and the entire chin seemed to be torn off. The force of the counter shock directly shook the brain, causing it to run wildly like jelly. He fainted on the spot. At this level, there is a chance of becoming a vegetative state or a fool. There is no third outcome. It can only be said that Nangong is really cruel to those who want his life. If it wasn't for Sanzu's cleverness just now, otherwise his mind would explode on the spot. As for why Nangong didn't step forward and kill him completely, it's the same reason. It definitely wouldn't work in public. It was just a moment of anger. Unless you become a top martial artist, like Fan Ma Yongxi Yin Zhang. And it's in a country like Neon. Otherwise, how would you dare to do this in the Dragon Kingdom? He was hung up and beaten every minute, and after the beating, he had to go to jail. As for killing top martial artists, that's impossible. After all, it's a strategic resource and a talent. The remaining delinquents saw their two bosses being beaten so miserably. Some who couldn't bear it immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. Yes, however, Nangong didn't take it seriously. Still rushing into this group of bad guys. Every time a delinquent is caught, his hands and feet are broken off with enough force to crush his bones. Chitanda Irie in the back, because she believed in Nangong's words, restrained her curiosity very well, so she closed her eyes and didn't look. On the contrary, Mai Sakurajima did not listen to Nangong. I saw Nangong's cruel method of killing these bad gangsters. Every time he strikes, his hands and feet are broken off. Listen to the cracking sound of the bones. Especially the two leading brothers, their chins were completely infected. The others' hands were directly beaten and completely severed, with only skin connections. This made Sakurajima Mai want to scream, but she didn't dare to scream, she could only feel her whole body trembling. It is unimaginable that Nangong, who is relatively peaceful in the club, has such a ferocious side. Then I thought about how many times I had always been against Nangong. He didn't even punch himself, thank God. With the brutal killing of Nangong, the bad guys began to flee. However, Nangong relies on his current extremely strong strength and explosion. He chased the fleeing delinquents at a speed that was about to break the sound barrier. When Nangong chased this group of escaped delinquents, the students and passers-by who had been watching at the entrance of Sobu High School were all shocked. The scene was too cruel. A student from Sobu High School. He actually chased and beat nearly 100 delinquents, and once he was chased with a punch or a kick, all the delinquents' hands and feet were broken on the spot. You can even see the bad ones lying on the ground. In the broken places, there are often bone residues piercing the skin or being blown away on the spot. Basically, as long as it is hit, there is no possibility of recovery again, and it can only end up with lifelong disability. This is Nangong's kindness to this group of bad guys. In the beverage shop in front of the school, Busujima Seiko has been observing the situation outside. At first, I was a little surprised when I saw that the people surrounded by these bad guys were actually a gentle boy wearing glasses and two pretty girls. It's a bit boring to engage in such a big battle just to bully a few students, but it suits me very well. I have already thought of a script in my mind, and in the name of rescue, I will step forward and cut down all these bad guys to vent my inner violence. Before I could implement the script in my mind, the situation outside had already changed. First, there was a bang, which was so loud that it could be heard in the store. I saw a person flying out from the surrounding of the undesirable group. With Busujima Seiko's eyesight, he could naturally tell that it was caused by someone punching him. So the person surrounded by these bad guys is a martial artist. Busujima Seiko suppressed her mood and continued to watch. Then a few more people walked into the group of delinquents, but not long after, a loud noise suddenly broke out among the group of delinquents, which was even louder than before. The surrounding group of delinquents were shaken back and dispersed. When Busujima Seiko and passers-by were able to see clearly what was going on inside, they saw an eye-popping scene. A masked man inside quickly flew out and directly hit a big hole in the door wall of a store. This wasn't over yet, there was another explosion in the bad circle. Busujima Seiko saw that there was also a martial artist among the delinquents, and they were fist-fighting with the bespectacled boy. In response to the air wave generated by the encounter, the glasses worn by the young man flew away without knowing where to go. But looking at the two people clashing, it seems that they are evenly matched. This battle should last for a while. You can think of a reason to join, such as protecting the two girls behind, or helping classmates from the same school. Thinking of this, excitement appeared in Busujima Seiko's eyes, and the energy and blood in her body began to stir. Holding the wooden knife tightly, he planned to get up and join this bloody battle. It's just that the second collision between the boy and the delinquent was not as evenly matched as Busujima Seiko expected. The second punch thrown by the young man was more than twice as powerful as the first punch. With just one punch, the bad guy was completely knocked down, his hands were broken, and his chest collapsed. Before Busujima Seiko could marvel too much, the young man started to attack this group of ordinary bad guys. The delinquents who were caught had their hands and feet cut off one after another, and Busujima Seiko could naturally see this with his eyesight. The force of breaking off the hands and feet was so great that the bones and flesh inside were basically broken into pieces, and some hands and feet were even blown off and thrown away. This brutal scene severely impacted Busujima Seiko's mind. The violent impulse in her heart was about to come out, making Busujima Seiko want to join in and kill together. But a good tutor allowed him to suppress the violence in his heart. It's too late to join the fight now. There is no good reason to stand up, and it will only let people know about his violent side. But this made Busujima Seiko even more curious about Nangong Yang. Why do you dare to use violence without any scruples and be so ruthless? Do you have the same violent tendencies as yourself? Especially when I saw the bloody scene where the mask that had been blown away before came back to fight, and was punched to the chin by the boy in front of me. Busujima Seiko was completely attracted by the young man in front of him who dared to use bloody violence without any scruples. On the other side, the Sobu High School students watching from the school gate witnessed the bloody scene in front of them. One by one, their hands and feet began to shake, which made the students in front of them unbearable. Some of the girls began to vomit. Because of most of the bad guys in front of them, all the broken bones of their hands and feet were poked out. A few of them can still see the severed hands and feet that were blown up by fists. Some of them even flew into the crowd of students, causing a burst of exclamations. The people here are trembling the most, and the thing that scares me the most is Hayama Hayato's appearance. Especially Tobi Sho, Otsuka, and Yamato inside, looking at the bloody scene in front of them. Thinking about what he had done before, if it was Miura Yuko and the others, they spread the idea that they planned to see Nangong Yang in trouble. Will he and others be caught by Nangong Yang and have their hands and feet broken off one by one? Especially looking at the violent and bloody scene in front of them, the three people's bodies were shaking even more. Hayama Hayato next to him had a gentle smile on his face all year round, but he couldn't maintain it. Secretly, my calves and feet were shaking. If Nangong Yang is offended because of these three things, it will be difficult to explain to the family, and the Yukinoshita family will not be able to protect themselves. As Hayama Hayato, who has some experience, he understands how popular and powerful the profession of martial artist is in Sakura country. As long as it doesn't go too far, you can kill people in the street. Basically, the law treats this special group of people very favorably. Returning to Nangong Yang, after being deliberately chased, those who ran the fastest were the first to have their hands and feet cut off, or they were directly blown off and thrown away. The remaining delinquents no longer dared to run away. Immediately, everyone knelt on the ground with fearful expressions, begging for mercy. But Nangong Yang didn't care about the bad guys kneeling in front of him. It's just that the attack was a little gentler. Instead of blowing up their hands and feet, they broke into comminuted fractures. Commonly known as brows or beaten into slag. Just got rid of all these bad guys. Then I heard the sound of intensive running coming from the direction of the school. Nangong Yang turned around and saw the group of watching students at the school gate getting out of the way. A group of young male teachers ran out with various wooden sticks and baseball bats in their hands. The leader was Shizuka Hiratsuka, but he didn't have any industrial building with him. He could see Nangong Yang standing in the middle of a group of delinquents who were lying on the ground and wailing. In fact, there was still some blood on his hands and body, and the black-rimmed glasses he usually wore were nowhere to be found. The appearance that looked like an immortal descended into the world was revealed. And among this group of bad guys, there were actually two intact girls. But what's a little strange is that one woman has her eyes closed, and the other is looking in the direction of Nangong Yang, her whole body trembling slightly. But when he saw that the two girls were intact, he didn't go there first, but came to Nangong Yang's side. You brat, what are you doing? You made it so bloody in front of the school. Hiratsuka, who was walking towards Nangong, looked at the ground. There were nearly 100 delinquents lying on the ground, all of them with their limbs broken off. You can even see some scattered hands and feet that have been beaten into individual parts, and their faces are extremely ugly. I thought about how this brat likes to tear people apart so much. If we don't get first aid quickly, probably half of these bad guys will die. Hiratsuka Shizuka thought for a while before asking with a darkened face. Can't you, kid, be gentler? All the delinquents are disabled. This is big news. Your teacher, I don't have that much energy to suppress this matter for you. When Nangong saw Jing Ki, he did not reprimand himself for his cruel methods. Instead, I thought about how to solve this problem, and a smile appeared on my face unconsciously. However, Nangong's smile happened to be seen by Busuji Maseko, who had just walked out of the beverage shop. I was immediately attracted by Nangong's current appearance. Because I was a little far away in the store just now, I didn't notice Nangong's appearance after his glasses fell off. Now that he came out of the store, he got closer so that Busuji Maseko could see clearly. I was immediately shocked in my heart. I didn't expect that the boy would change so much after taking off his glasses. At the same time, he saw that Nangong's hands and face were stained with some blood, and his face looked like an immortal. A strange sense of bloody beauty came to Busuji Maseko's heart, which could be said to hit the G-spot directly. At this moment, Busuji Maseko was completely moved. If it was curiosity and wanting to get to know each other before, now it's love at first sight, and I won't marry him unless I do. However, more than one person saw Nangong's current appearance. For example, those who came with the teachers were Miura Yuko and Abina Himina. Both of them were also fascinated by Nangong's majestic appearance, even the Fujoshi Abina Himina was no exception. Of course, Jing Ki, who was standing in front of Nangong, was the first to be shocked, and for a while she was bewildered by his majestic appearance. But fortunately, after experiencing it several times, I quickly woke up and couldn't help but complain. Your boy's superpower is so perverted, it even attracts the teacher. After saying this, Nangong couldn't help but rolled his eyes and said, Teacher Jing is attracted, it's none of my business. Chapter 51. Okay, Teacher Jing, please take the two girls over there and avoid them for a while. The current scene is not very friendly to them. After saying that, Nangong pointed to Chitanda Aru and Sakurajima Mai, who were standing not far away. By the way, the chain defense array surrounding them was lifted and brought back. At this time, only Chitanda Aru listened to Nangong's words and didn't read them. Mai Sakurajima shivered when Nangong pointed at her. After hearing this, Hiratsuka Shizuka looked at the two girls next to her, nodded and said, No problem, but have you thought about how to solve this problem? Teacher, I just said, I don't have that much energy to suppress things here. After speaking, Hiratsuka Shizuka looked around and saw the crowd gradually gathering. As well as the teachers who came over, they didn't dare to get close when they saw this tragic scene. Listen to Jing Ki, Nangong took out his cell phone and shook it. Teacher, my mobile phone contains the number of the head of the Shinomiya family. I helped their family solve some problems a few days ago, and now it's the Shinomiya family's turn to help me. Hearing this, Jing Ki couldn't help but punch Nangong in the chest and said, It turns out that you kid still has this kind of relationship, no wonder you dare to make such a big fuss. So Miss Shinomiya from the class came to Sobu High School because of your relationship. No wonder she sat next to you when she arrived. Since you can ask the Shinomiya family for help, I won't care about this matter. After saying that, Shizukai walked towards Chitanda Iri and Sakurajima Mai and took them back to school temporarily. Passing by the group of male teachers who came out to help, they said a few words and led them back. Seeing how straightforward Jing Ki was, she believed what she said. Nangong was stunned for a while and didn't understand why. But I didn't think much about it. I took out my mobile phone and started calling and contacted Shinomiya Yanan. Explain what happened here and ask someone to come and deal with it. It should be said that this is a family that occupies a quarter of Sakura country's economic lifeline. Within 10 minutes of the call, dozens of ambulances arrived. Carry away all the bad guys in front of you and take them to first aid to prevent some bad guys from bleeding too much and dying completely. A few police officers even came, asked some symbolic questions, and then left. It was a pretense to give an explanation to the surrounding onlookers. Nangong Yang seems to have settled the matter. I turned around and walked to school. Naturally, I wanted to see how Chitanda Irie and Sakurajima Mai were doing. The crowd of passers-by and students outside the school saw nothing interesting to see, so they all dispersed. It just depends on the situation. Rumors about Sobu High will be flying all over the sky tomorrow. After all, such a big thing will definitely be known to everyone. In the crowd that dispersed, Miura Yuko and Abina Hina stared straight at Nangong Yang's back. When the two of them came out with their teacher just now, they saw Nangong Yang standing in the middle of a group of delinquents who were lying on the ground and wailing. As well as the blood-covered body, a masculine look after a bloody battle, coupled with the face that looks like an immortal without glasses. The two of them were completely fascinated by Nangong Yang and became his nymphomaniacs. If Nangong Yang hooked his finger at them and invited them to spend the night together, they would agree. As for Busujima Seiko, seeing the end of the matter, she glanced at Nangong Yang's direction back to school. I had the idea in my mind that I wanted to get to know Nangong Yang, or even go further, but not now, so I turned around and went back with the wooden knife. Nangong Yang walked to the teacher's office to find Chitanda Aru and Sakurajima Mai. On the way, Nangong Yang used spiritual purification to remove the blood stains and blood smell from his body. Soon Nangong Yang came to the teacher's office and pushed the door open. Before entering the office, the teachers who were still discussing things immediately became silent when they saw Nangong Yang coming in. Obviously, what was posted outside the school just now is known to all the teachers. But Nangong Yang ignored it and looked at the two women sitting next to Shizuka Hiratsuka. Fortunately for Chitanda Aru, she didn't see any bloody scenes from beginning to end. That is, when Shizuka Hiratsuka took her away, she glanced at the delinquent lying on the ground. As for Sakurajima Mai, she was too stubborn and did not close her eyes. Instead, she saw Nangong Yang knocking off several bad hands and feet at close range, and was frightened by the violent method. I still haven't come back to my senses yet. Nangong Yang came to Hiratsuka Shizuka, looked at Sakurajima Mai's still shaking body and asked, "How are the two of you feeling?" After hearing the question, Heike looked at the two people beside him, Chitanda Irie, who was comforting Sakurajima Mai. He said very helplessly, "Chitanda-san is okay. Sakurajima-san seems to be a little psychologically frightened." "It's okay, just a small problem," Nangong Yang said very calmly. When Hiratsuka Shizuka heard this, she couldn't pretend that she didn't hear it. What is a psychological shadow? It's a small problem. If the shadow cannot be lifted, it will be a lifelong problem. Hearing Shizu Hiratsuka's rebuttal, Nangong Yang just said it lightly. "Don't worry, Teacher Jing, I have a solution. Also, Teacher Jing, it's so late now, why don't you drive the three of us back together in a while?" After hearing Nangong Yang's suggestion, Hiratsuka Shizuka saw that it was indeed very late outside and responded, "Okay, you have encountered such a big thing today. It is indeed, teacher, and I would be more appropriate to send you back." As he spoke, Hiratsuka Shizuka took out the key to his GTR sports car from the drawer, shook his hand and said, "Let's go, show you my special car, take you for a ride, and relax your mood." While talking, Hiratsuka Susumu had already opened the door of the office and walked out. Seeing Shizuka acting so resolutely, Nangong Yang immediately called Chitanda Irie to pull up Sakurajima Mai. Soon, the three of them arrived at the parking lot. Hiratsuka Shizu opened the car door and let the three people sit in. At this time Nangong Yang suddenly said to Chitanda Aru, "Aru, please sit in the front passenger seat. I will sit alone with my senpai." Chitanda Aru was surprised when he heard this and asked, "Why are you sitting like this? Does Nangong-kun have something to say to senior sister Mai?" Jing Ki next to her also spoke. "You kid don't want to take advantage of someone's heart to get hurt, do you want to take advantage of it?" Nangong Yang just said with a smile, "Of course not, how could I be so bad? I am preparing to provide psychological shadow therapy for Senior Mai in the car." What Nangong Yang said made Chitanda Aru's body goosebumps. I immediately knew that Nangong had bad intentions, but I couldn't find any reason to refute him. Jing Ki next to her just looked at Nangong a little suspiciously. Nangong ignored this and pulled Sakurajima Mai next to Chitanda Aru, then opened the rear door and pushed it up. During this process, Mai Sakurajima was extremely docile towards Nangong, as long as her body did not shake. Nangong was also very helpless about this. Sure enough, he couldn't be too cruel in front of girls. But looking at how submissive Sakurajima Mai is, it feels good. I can only say that there are pros and cons. As the four people got into the car, Shizuka Hiratsuka stepped on the accelerator and drove out. Nangong said on the way, "Teacher Jing, drive slower on the road. I'll take care of my Sakurajima's psychological problem first." "Okay, I want to see what you kid is going to do." Hiratsuka Shizuka replied, occasionally looking at the two people shown in the rear mirror to see what they were going to do. Next to her, Chitanda Aru is equally curious. In the back seat of the sports car, Nangong asked Sakurajima Mai to face him and pinch the seal of word spirit with both hands. Read out Yan Ling blurred memory. Following these words, a white ripple came out of her mouth and swept towards Sakurajima Mai. Nangong quickly reached out to Mai Sakurajima's temples with his sealing hands to press them. All the memories from the moment I left school to the present are blurred. Wait until the blur is almost gone before spitting out a word of spirit. Yan Ling awakening God, let Sakurajima Maichi come back from her trance. Then he said something a little confused. Didn't I just come out of school? Why did I get in the car again? Hiratsuka Shizuka, who was driving in front of me, couldn't help but praise when he saw this scene. "You are so awesome, kid. How come I didn't know that your kid also learned hypnosis?" Nangong was speechless after hearing this and explained. "Teacher, this is a spirit removing technique." Hearing this, Jing Ki retorted very forcefully. "What era has it been? There are still magic and magic methods to remove spirits. They are all weird powers and chaos. This is a scientific society. We must believe in science." Hearing this, Nangong wanted to refute even more. Is martial arts chi and blood a science? It's just that Nangong really has no way of talking about the concept that people in this world are like this. This makes Nangong very uncomfortable. The next morning, Nangong came to school just in time for the school bell as usual. But what is different from before is that Nangong does not wear black-rimmed glasses this time. Because of yesterday's battle, I don't know where my black-rimmed glasses fell. Nangong estimated that some rescue worker took away the glasses along with the bad guy. Moreover, my glasses were knocked off yesterday, and there were so many students present. I guess my extraordinary appearance has gone viral in school. I might as well not wear my glasses today. Sure enough, as Nangong came to Sobu High School, he walked all the way to the classroom. You can hear all kinds of rumors. It's just that among these rumors, there are not only those who say he is handsome, but also those who say he is cruel and perverted. Every student who sees Nangong is first attracted by his godlike appearance. After regaining consciousness, he would hide aside and whisper about all kinds of rumors. For example, Nangong from Class F is actually a super handsome guy, and you can't tell him when he wears glasses. It is said that as long as he takes off his glasses and winks at girls, they will fall in love with him. Nangong, a classmate from Class F, is actually a martial artist. I heard that he came from the family from the Dragon Kingdom to defeat all the high-level martial artists in the Sakura Kingdom. And yesterday, we had a solo battle with hundreds of bad guys, and even a dozen martial artists. It was so exciting. And Nangong, a classmate from Class F, has violent tendencies. He likes to break other people's hands and feet, tear off other people's private parts, and use other people's private parts to make wine. For a time, the whole school was full of rumors. It's just getting more and more outrageous. Some not, they are all being passed on. Especially the one who tore off other people's private parts and used them to make wine. Who would have thought of this? If Nangong catches him, he will be sure to sell it to Mayawati, Myanmar, and let him try out what it feels like to have his private parts torn off and used to make wine. Just like that, Nangong came to his classroom, listening to various rumors along the way. The moment I enter the classroom, swish, brush, brush. All the men and women in the class looked towards Nan Jiang. Then the whole class seemed to be cast under a silent spell. They all entered a sluggish state, waiting for Nan Gongyang to return to his seat and sit down. Only then did the students come back to their senses one by one. Suddenly the whole class was excited, chatting about all kinds of miscellaneous rumors. Especially when you see Nan Gongyang without glasses. One of the rumors has been verified. Nan Gongyang's beauty can make anyone fascinated by just blinking at her. Indeed, the entire class, including the boys, was fascinated. Doesn't this prove its authenticity? As we talked further, we suddenly came across two other rumors, about martial artists from the Dragon Kingdom, about breaking other people's hands and feet, and tearing off other people's private parts. When we talked about these two rumors, the whole class became a little quieter. The boys in the class vaguely looked at Nan Gongyang with fear. Only the current members of the class, Hayama Hayato, Miura Yuko and the others, knew what was going on. But few people said anything or refuted the rumors. But what happened yesterday has somewhat changed this group of people. For example, Hayama Hayato and several boys keep a respectful distance from Nan Gongyang. It can even be said that I am afraid and dare not look too much. As for Miura Yuko and Abina Himina, they looked at Nan Gongyang from time to time. There was a different look in her eyes, which made Uegahama Yui, who was at the same table as them, feel strange. Are you attracted by Nan Gongyang's beauty? As Nan Gongyang takes his seat. Chika Fujiwara, who was behind, tugged at Nan Gongyang's clothes curiously. Kagaya of the fourth house is more reserved and only coughed twice. Obviously both of them wanted to talk to Nan Gongyang about what happened yesterday. Especially Shinomiya Kagaya, she learned from Hayasaka Ai what happened to Nan Gongyang yesterday. As for why it happened, it's not clear. Together with Uegahama Yui next to him, they all cast curious looks at Nan Gongyang. Not long after I left yesterday, such a big thing happened. And I didn't see Nan Gongyang in the club yesterday. I thought he left first, but it turned out that he was still in school and left later than me. I feel a little guilty for a moment. I should have waited a little longer, then I could have helped yesterday. Nan Gongyang looked at the curious babies around him and ignored them for the time being. Because the teacher of the first period has also come to the classroom. A few curious babies, but God listened to the class. The class time passed quickly. Just a few funny things happened in class. A female teacher came to class, and she taught English. In terms of age, some are in their 30s and close to 40, and two of their children are old enough to make soy sauce. As a result, I kept staring at Nan Gongyang's face in class, making mistakes and being stunned several times. This made Nan Gongyang very embarrassed, and he was thinking, should he make black-rimmed glasses again and take them back? However, as soon as this idea came up, it was killed by Nan Gongyang. Because you have to experience this sooner or later. Anyway, if you see this face and eyes too much, you will naturally develop resistance. As soon as the bell rang, the English teacher didn't dare to stay any longer. He immediately packed up his textbooks and ran away. I feel like my happy family will be shattered if I leave any longer. It's really an insult to teachers' ethics. As soon as the teacher left, the female students in the class immediately started cheering, and most of them came to Nan Gongyang's seat. For various requests, add line, email, and mobile phone number. There were even confessions, and several hands came over secretly to take advantage of her. A small number of girls were able to keep their composure and did not go over to join in the fun. For example, Miura Yuko, Abina Himina, and Kawasaki Sake. The scene suddenly became chaotic. The boys in the class did not dare to approach because of the rumors. The scene before them made all the boys in the class gnash their teeth with envy and hatred. Especially Toby Sho, this kid's eyes are so jealous that they are red. The great teacher in the class, Hikigaya Hachiman, is like a bystander, observing everything clearly but not caring about anything. At this time, Nan Gongyang was struggling to deal with the teasing and various questions from the girls. Why don't you have a girlfriend? How long is it below? How many abdominal muscles does your belly have? Do you recommend flying together? This group of female goblins took advantage of the chaos in the scene and asked all kinds of questions, which really made Nan Gongyang unable to bear it. He suggested immediately, Just add me online, you can create a group of your own and just drag me in. If you have any questions, ask them above and I will answer them. Don't hang around here now, class will start again soon. To the authorities, Nangong Yang reported his line number to all the girls. Only then did the girls in the class calm down. They could only say that it was their starry sky eyes that were really charming. Coupled with his handsome appearance, it is normal to have such an influence. Nangong Yang thought narcissistically, because so many girls gathered around Nangong Yang after class. There are 3 curious babies around Jin, Chihua, Kegaya, and Yui, who cannot satisfy his curiosity. I can only leave all the questions aside for now. Time flies, and the 4 classes in the morning are over quickly. Nangong Yang declined, and the girls in the class invited him to dinner for various reasons. Taking Yui, Kianhua, and Kegaya, the 3 of them went directly to the rooftop, and the butler behind them naturally followed. Also following were Shalwa and Mionzi from the next class. The 2 came to school early in the morning and heard various rumors about Nangong Yang. I originally wanted to come to Nangong Yang in the morning and ask questions between classes. But seeing that Nangong Yang has been pestered by the girls in the class, he has no chance to go there immediately. Now it's lunchtime, 6 people gather together, just enough to understand what happened yesterday. At the same time, Kegaya's butler quickly laid out the tablecloths and placed all the prepared bento meals. After everything was done, the housekeeper returned to the roof and guarded the door. Nangong Yang and others sat on the tablecloth, as usual. Shalwa handed the gourmet peanuts he specially prepared to Nangong Yang. Nangong Yang took the gourmet peanuts and tasted one first. After feeling refreshed, he said to the girls, "Seeing that you are all curious about what happened yesterday, I will tell you." Nangong Yang told this group of curious babies about how he was surrounded by hundreds of delinquents when he left school yesterday. At the same time, I emphasized that I only broke their hands and feet, but did not tear off their lower bodies, and there was no such thing as soaking in wine. As for the club activities in the school, looking for bunny girl seniors, Nangong Yang didn't talk about these. Nangong Yang's careful explanation made the girls laugh for a while. Chika Fujiwara can't help but laugh. I thought Nangong Jun would be as cruel as the rumors say, and like to tear off other people's private parts directly. Do you think it's possible? You can tell it's fake as soon as you hear it. After hearing Chika Fujiwara's teasing, Nangong Yang immediately retorted. Speaking of this, Nangong Yang praised Lily Xuanhua again. "Shalwa, I really want to thank you. The delicious peanuts I gave you yesterday were really helpful. Otherwise, it would be a bit troublesome to deal with the 2 martial artists in the gang." Hearing what Nangong Yang said, Lily Xuanhua smiled happily and said happily, "I wish I could help. Yesterday I took Miko to go shopping, and I felt guilty for not being there to help." Quote. Yotsuya Miko next to him echoed with a slightly ashamed expression. "Yeah, if we were all here, you wouldn't have to face nearly 100 bad guys and 2 martial artists by yourself." Yui and Kegaya on the side also felt guilty after hearing this. Since he and the others have become dependents, everything in the future will naturally be dominated by Nangong Yang. However, my own people were still unaware of this problem as usual. When needed, I and others were not there, and all of them disappeared. It was really derelict of duty. If something happened to Nangong Yang, he and the others would also die together. Thinking of this, Shalwa, Mionzi, Kegaya, and Yui looked at each other with tacit understanding. The meaning conveyed is very obvious. Shinomiya Kegaya immediately suggested it first. "From now on, among the 4 of us, at least 2 of us will be with you." After all the girls know that Nangong Yang is too important to them. It's a very simple truth. If there is no wood, it will wither. If there is no source of water, it will be exhausted. Nangong Yang is their source. If Nangong Yang is gone, naturally, they will not survive. This was decided the moment they became dependents. However, the words said by several people sounded very strange to Fujiwara Chika. After all, Nangong Yang is a martial artist and has extremely powerful force. How did you 4 girls gain so much confidence? With you here, I don't have to worry about nearly 100 bad guys. Shouldn't it be that the 4 of you are holding us back? Chika Fujiwara immediately asked about this weird idea. How do you think Nangong-kun will be more relaxed with the 4 girls joining you? It shouldn't be the case. With the 4 of you joining us, Mr. Nangong will be even more confused and even be held back. Chika Fujiwara knew very well that the 4 people in front of her, especially Kagaya, were not powerful martial artists at all. At most, Shinomiya Kagaya, who is good at archery, can shoot a few arrows. But facing nearly 100 bad guys and 2 martial artists, it seems meaningless. Fujiwara Chika, say this. Let me, Shinomiya Kagaya and the others also react. Chika Fujiwara is not a dependent yet, so she doesn't know how powerful their substitutes are. Shinomiya Kagaya and the others just looked at Nangong Yang and stopped talking. Nangong Yang listened to the self-blame speeches of several people and took the lead in comforting them. As for Fujiwara Chika's questions, Nangong Yang ignored them directly and kept them quiet for the time being. Don't take it to heart, who would have thought that something like this would happen? At that time, I was surrounded by myself, and I was surprised. I didn't expect anyone to block me. In other words, I taught a few bad guys a lesson a few days ago. Who would have thought that those bad guys would find someone to block me? As for following 2 people every day, there is no need to bother. Just follow 1. Besides, there's no need to follow you at school, it's just a matter of a few steps. Nangong Yang thought in his heart that if he wants to do something shy with 2 people every day, he must consider the feelings of both parties. It's better to start with one-on-one. Once you get familiar with it later, you can naturally start with one-on-2 and day-to-day. Thinking of this, the smile on Nangong Yang's face became obscene unconsciously. Fujiwara Chika, who was ignored, looked at Nangong Yang's handsome and wretched face with a look of disgust. At the same time, Chika Fujiwara made it clearer that the relationship between these 5 people was by no means ordinary. Moreover, the 5 of them all focused on Nangong Yang, and even Fujiwara Chika vaguely felt that Kagaya and the others were really willing to pay for Nangong Yang. However, this is what makes Fujiwara Chika very puzzled. Why did she pay so much to Nangong Yang? Take it so seriously. With my IQ of 130, I can't even figure out why. An important clue was missing, and the detective soul in my heart forced myself to find out the reason as soon as possible. But Chika Fujiwara would never have imagined that the more she explores, the deeper she will sink. My whole life is stuck in it and I can't extricate myself. After looking at Kagaya and the others, and feeling much better, Nangong Yang immediately greeted them. The food has been left out for so long, let's start eating and chat while eating. Then a few people chatted while eating. Among them, Chika Fujiwara is the most active. Keep asking Yui, Shalwa, and Janzi how they met Nangong Yang. What is the relationship between these people and Nangong Yang now? Even Kagaya couldn't escape the questioning. It's just that Kagaya and the others didn't get Nangong Yang's approval, so they just confused it with vague words. Chika Fujiwara felt uncomfortable for a while Nangong Yang looked on cheerfully. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. The more uncomfortable you are, the more curious you become. The more curious you are, the more you want to explore. When the time comes, you will find an opportunity and transform it into a dependent, and you're done. By then, in Sakura country, he would have 2 top business and political connections, the Shinomiya family and the Fujiwara family. But you can give it a try first to see what Chika Fujiwara thinks of extraordinary abilities. After everyone has almost finished their lunch, immediately said to Chika Fujiwara, Kionwa, do you want to know the relationship between us? But I can't tell you this yet, but I can let you see something interesting. Put your hand over here. After saying these words, Chika Fujiwara hesitated for a moment and then stretched out her hand in front of Nangong Yang. Nangong Yang took Kionwa's hand and straightened it, and extended the other palm from Wang Suolian factory. And aimed the arrow of the chain at Kionwa's palm. Although Fujiwara Chika cannot see the substitute, Kagaya and the others can see the substitute. Curious what Nangong Yang wants to do. Do you want to take Chika Fujiwara directly as your dependent? But that seems to require the contractor's consent and non-resistance, right? Of course, Nangong Yang did not directly and forcefully accept Kionwa as his dependents. Instead, he drew the arrow of the chain across Fujiwara Chika's palm. In an instant, blood came out of Fujiwara Chika's palm with a squeak. This frightened Chika Fujiwara, and she immediately jumped up from her position, but was pushed back by Nangong Yang. Suddenly Qianhua's little face turned red and her eyes started to water. The old housekeeper who had been observing the place outside the rooftop door saw Qianhua being injured. He immediately took out his spare handkerchief from his butler uniform, tore it open, and came over to bandage it. But Nangong Yang just glanced at Kagaya Shinomiya, and Kagaya understood what was going on. He immediately stretched out his hand to stop the housekeeper and said, "Butler Zhang, please wait a moment." Upon hearing this, the old housekeeper stopped immediately, but did not take back the torn handkerchief in his hand, but waited aside. Chika Fujiwara on the side saw the old housekeeper being blocked by Shinomiya Kagaya, and her misty eyes widened. "I never thought that. I just wanted to explore the relationship between Kagaya and Nangong Yang, but unexpectedly my hand was scratched inexplicably. Now Nangong Yang is still holding him down to prevent him from going, and bandages his palms." The housekeeper was also blocked by Kagaya, and immediately tears of grievance fell out. His voice began to whimper, and he looked like he was about to burst into tears. Nangong Yang saw Chika Fujiwara looking like she was about to cry and said immediately, "Don't you want to know our secret? Then don't cry, otherwise we won't treat you." Quote. What Nangong Yang said scared Fujiwara Chika so much that she held back her tears. Then he asked weakly, "I don't want to know the secret now, okay?" Hearing this, Nangong Yang deliberately said something in a low voice. "It's too late. It's too late for you to wake up. Come and eat this peanut now." As he said this, Nangong Yang took out a few gourmet peanuts that Shalwa gave to him. He handed it to Fujiwara Chika's mouth and motioned for him to eat it. Chika Fujiwara looks at the peanuts in Nangong Yang's hand. Naturally, I knew this was Shalwa yesterday, and the gourmet peanuts specially prepared for Nangong Yang were very delicious. "Just take it for yourself to eat now, why?" But Fujiwara Chika still ate it obediently. After all, this is the time when people are the cutlery and I am the fish. As Chika Fujiwara handed over Nangong Yang, she ate the gourmet peanuts. "I feel the same delicious taste as yesterday, and my body feels full of energy." Then Qianhua was very miraculous. She saw that the wound on her palm was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. It took no more than a minute in total, and the wound that cut open the palm had disappeared. This scene beyond cognition made Chika Fujiwara stunned for a moment. The old housekeeper on the side also saw such a magical scene for the first time. But the expression on his face didn't change much. "After all, I have been a housekeeper in the Shinomiya family for decades, and I have never seen any big storms." The old housekeeper who was standing by saw this scene and knew that there was nothing going on behind him without him, so he retreated behind the rooftop door. Chika Fujiwara looked at her palm and saw that the scars and cracks that existed before had actually recovered within a minute. He even put his white little hand in front of his eyes and looked at it, turning it around, but he didn't see any trace. Normally, after the wound recovers, there will usually be a white mark, but you can't find it. Suddenly the tears on his face stopped falling, and he said to Nangong Yang out of curiosity, "Nangong Jun, is this your secret? The peanuts I just ate can actually heal my wounds. Why didn't I notice it yesterday?" Speaking of this, Chika Fujiwara looked at Shalwa. So this peanut is Shalwa's extraordinary power. Shalwa, who had been watching from the side, nodded when he saw Nangong Yang taking the initiative to show his extraordinary side. "Yes, it's my superpower. I can make everything into delicious food. It also has various buffs, and the effect recovery is just one of them." After hearing this, Chika Fujiwara started thinking with her IQ brain circuit of 130, and instantly thought of the answer. The 5 people in front of me all have superpowers. The superpowers all come from Nangong Yang, so the 5 talents are mainly Nangong Yang. At this moment, Chika Fujiwara's idea was infinitely close to the answer. Should I be called the daughter of a high-ranking politician? The brain is the aura. Chika Fujiwara's eyes lit up when she thought of this. What a superpower. Superpowers that only appear in comics actually appear in front of him. You may also obtain it through Nangong Yang. How could Chika Fujiwara not be moved by this? The expression on his face immediately changed, showing the most perfect smile in his life. She brought her cuteness to the extreme and looked coquettishly at Nangong Yang with big cute eyes. "Nangong Jun, brother Nangong, I want superpowers, is that okay? The voice she spoke in was so soft and cute that it made Nangong Yang tremble all over. It was so overwhelming. But Nangong Yang still held back. He put his hand on his ear and said, "What are you talking about? Speak louder." Hearing this, Chika Fujiwara grabbed Nangong Yang's arm and held her in her arms. What's worse, Fujiwara Chika's whole body began to shake and she whispered, "Brother Nangong, if you can't hear it, I'll explain it to you in detail." Saying this, Chika Fujiwara put her lips close to Nangong Yang's ear and said with a slight breath, "Kianwa wants superpowers, Brother Nangong, how about that?" After saying this, Nangong Yang's whole body softened. This is simply a little goblin that escaped from the goblin country. Originally, I just wanted to tease Chika Fujiwara and let her experience her extraordinary abilities. Unexpectedly, Chika Fujiwara suddenly fell into a trap. Should I say that she deserves to be the daughter of a politician? As soon as I saw a prophet, I instinctively started to climb up. Kagaya, Miko, and Yui, who were watching from the side, poured dried flowers for being so brave. Especially the whole person, relying on Nangong Yang. This made Kagaya furious and yelled angrily, "You are shameless and obscene, why don't you let go of Mr. Nangong?" As she spoke, Kagaya began to pull Fujiwara Chika with one hand, and pulled out with the other hand. Yui and Mitsuko were not that familiar, so they didn't come forward to take action, but they looked at the bugs in their eyes. Chika Fujiwara also trembled and instinctively let go of her hands. On the other hand, Xiaohua next to him watched this scene with relish, and at the same time, he did not forget to add the remaining food to his lunch box. Since no one is eating it, we can't waste it. Nangong Yang looked at Chika Fujiwara, who was stripped down, and breathed a sigh of relief. I was almost fooled by Fujiwara Chika. I coughed twice. Nangong Yang solemnly said to Fujiwara Chika, "Kianwa, if you want superpowers, you can, of course, but you have to think about it, it all comes at a price." Chika Fujiwara, who was still being pulled, heard this and immediately broke away and said, "What's the price to pay?" Regardless of Chika Fujiwara's appearance, she looks very cute. In fact, I was so confused that if I had been an ordinary boy just now, I would have been tricked by Chika Fujiwara into knowing what I wanted to know in a few seconds. Bound for life. Nangong Yang just said these 4 words. I think Chika Fujiwara will understand. Sure enough, when Nangong Yang said the 4 words, bound for life, he became a little silent. Like thinking about the pros and cons. Maybe extraordinary abilities are good, but they won't last a lifetime. Finally, after lunch, everyone went back to the classroom to rest. Among them, Chika Fujiwara still has not replied to Nangong Yang. It obviously takes some time to think about. Time flies, the last class is over. The boys in the class dispersed in a hurry, leaving only the girls gathered around Nangong Yang. Inviting him to go out to play for various reasons made Nangong Yang very annoyed after being pestered for a whole day. I sighed in my heart, what a happy trouble. In the end, Nangong Yang rejected them because there was something wrong with the club. Kagaya and Kianwa still have something to do today and will go back early. But Kianwa secretly revealed some information to Nangong Yang. Nangong Jun, after we finish these 2 days, we will bring you a surprise. Nangong Yang expressed his expectation for this. Then he and Yui went to the club activity area to go to their respective clubs. And this time we met to go back from school together. When Nangong Yang came to the entrance of the classical literature department, he saw a tall girl with purple hair standing at the entrance of the club, holding a wooden knife in her hand. The tall purple-haired girl seemed to feel someone coming and turned around to see Nangong Yang. I was stunned for a while by his stunning appearance, but quickly came to my senses and took the initiative to come to Nangong Yang. As the tall purple-haired girl walked towards Nangong Yang, her chest kept shaking. It made Nangong Yang's eyes go straight. I thought in my heart that the food for girls nowadays is so good and the granary in the front is so big. The tall girl with purple hair seemed to notice the way Nangong Yang looked at her chest. The corners of her mouth curved slightly and she stood up proudly. Said loudly at the same time, "Hello, classmate, my name is Busujima Seiko, you can call me Seiko, 2nd grader." When Nangong Yang heard Busujima Seiko's introduction, he quickly came to his senses and introduced himself. "Hello, senior sister Seiko, My name is Nangong Yang, you can just call me Nangong, I don't like people calling me by my last name, first grade class F. At the same time, I thought, why is it still there? The worldview of this anime. Could it be that when the time comes, some dead body virus will break out in this world? Upon hearing Nangong Yang's self-introduction, Busujima Seiko's eyes lit up and she spoke. Junior Nangong, I saw the battle where you showed off your prowess yesterday. Quote, he's very handsome. Senior sister, I'm a little moved by it. After hearing this, Nangong Yang had question marks on his head. I remember Busujima Seiko in the anime. It seems that she didn't have such a nymphomaniac setting as soon as she met her. I really can't figure it out, I can only attribute it to the fact that this is a comic book world. But it doesn't seem like a bad thing. Moreover, Busujima Seiko in front of him seems to be a martial artist. Although the life energy in his body is not as good as his own, it is still slightly stronger than the Mikami brothers. I thought so, but Nangong Yang still replied normally. Senior Yazi, please stop joking. Winning yesterday was just a fluke. Junior Nangong, please don't be so modest. Excessive modesty will only make people annoying. Unfortunately, sister, I seem to like you very much. Busujima Seiko calmly gave a straight shot. Nangong Yang couldn't tell for a moment whether what he said was true or false. After all, there are three major misconceptions in life. There is information on the phone, I can fight back, and she likes me. He said with a calm expression immediately. Senior Seiko, why did you come to see me this time? I would like to invite you to join our Jiao Kendo Club. With your strong physical strength, I believe you can win a very high award. Saying this, Busujima Seiko stretched out his hand and put it on Nangong Yang's chest, stroking it. It's just that his face remains as smooth as ever. For a moment, Nangong Yang was a little unsure. But he did not avoid it, but said it. Senior Seiko should be able to tell that I don't follow the path of kendo, and I'm not even familiar with martial arts. The reason why I was able to fight nearly 100 bad guys before was just to crush them with brute force. Busujima Seiko approached Nangong Yang again, and their faces were very close to each other. Busujima Seiko's breath could easily hit Nan Yingyang's face. In my opinion, you are very talented. I can see that you haven't condensed your chi and blood yet. But your powerful body is already comparable to the body of a newly entered intermediate martial artist. With a little training, you can completely become an intermediate martial artist. Although Busujima Seiko said this, her fundamental purpose was not to train Nangong Yang, or to take a fancy to his talent. Instead, he wanted to interact with Nangong Yang through the Kendo Club activities, so that the two of them could gradually get to know each other. After all, Nangong Yang is Busujima Seiko's favorite husband. After Nangong Yang heard this, he saw Busujima Seiko being so close to him and not being defensive. The expression on his face didn't change much. So they really took a fancy to my talent and wanted to join the Kendo Club to win those boring rankings and awards. After Nangong Yang thought about it for a while, he changed his mind and said, Senior Yazi, it's not impossible for me to join the Kendo Club. Similarly, you also want to join our classical literature department. We still have one person left in our club, how about that? After saying that, Nangong Yang also pointed to the nameplate of the Department of Classical Literature behind it. Nangong Yang's sudden reversal made Busujima Seiko unable to react for a moment. Just now I was talking about joining the Kendo Club, but soon I switched to joining the Classics Club. But still think about whether it is feasible. Soon Busujima Seiko gave the answer. I can join your Classics department and save you from abolishing it, but I won't come often. Is that okay? After saying that, Busujima Seiko looked at Nangong Yang. Essentially, I just want to have more communication with Nangong Yang, and it doesn't matter which club I join. Just joining the Kendo Club will give you more topics to talk about. Okay, just put your name on it. Nangong Yang affirmed. Okay, then I will join your classical literature department today and take a look at what your club is like. Hearing Nangong Yang's reply, he also smiled. This smile made Busujima Seiko, who originally had the temperament of a cold royal sister, suddenly become as gentle and charming as Yamato Nadeshiko. Nangong Yang was stunned for a while. Busujima Seiko smiled even more when she saw Nangong Yang being fascinated by her charm again. The so-called appearance of a woman to please herself is nothing more than this. Nangong-jun, let's enter the club now. After talking about Busujima Seiko, he also showed his hand in front of Nan Jiang. Let Nangong-yang regain his senses again. Although Nangong-yang came back to his senses. But I feel a little weird. What's going on? In the past few days, I have always been in a restless mood, and my second brother is a little restless. When I see a beautiful woman or be spoiled by a beautiful woman, I feel like I can't walk any longer. Normally speaking, I am a spiritual master, and I am willing to cultivate my spirit to the fullest. Not to say that he is as ruthless and desireless as a saint, but he is not unable to walk fast when he sees a few beauties. Looking at Busujima Seiko, he turned around and opened the door of the classical literature department. The graceful curves revealed on her back made her feel restless. The blood in the body is a little boiling. Blood. Boiling. It turns out that he has not developed qi in blood yet, and cannot control his body in a precise way. The blood energy in the body is different from ordinary people's, so it is naturally easy to be emotionally excited. So I have to hold back for the time being and speed up the practice of qi and blood. As soon as this idea came up, Nangong-yang killed it, threw it into the trash can, and burned the trash can. Oh my god, how could he be so cowardly? It seems he needs to find someone to consecrate his second brother. With this in mind, Nangong-yang joined the club with Busujima Seiko. As the two of them entered the club, what did they see Sakurajima Mai and Chitanda Irie discussing in the club? Adfei, Chitanda Irie saw someone coming in and found that it was Nangong-yang who came in with Busujima Seiko. It was a little strange. This person, what is the Buddha doing here? Sakurajima Mai's reaction was slightly bigger, and the conversation just now was very lively. Now seeing Nangong-yang appear, his whole body seemed to soften. Nangong-jun, is this Busujima Senior here? Seeing Chitanda Aru, the minister asked, and Nangong-yang said immediately. Come to join our classics department. It was even weirder to hear that. Busujima Seiko is an extremely famous person in the entire Sobu High School, and he is even the head of the Kendo Club. Capture the leader of the Jade Dragon banner. Such a giant Buddha comes to our small classical literature department. It's strange that some people believe it. Nangong-yang naturally knew what Chitanda Aru was thinking and immediately explained. Senior Seiko invited me to join the Kendo Club, and as a condition, I also invited her to join our classical literature club. Exchange of equal value. This is fair, and this way the classical literature department doesn't have to worry about abolishing the department. After Nangong-yang finished speaking, he winked at Chitanda Aru very proudly. Hearing this, Chitanda Aru suddenly understood, raised his hands and shouted. Bujima Senpai joins, I am 100% in favor. Busujima Senpai, come and sit down quickly, the position has been arranged for you. After speaking, Chitanda Aru was very enthusiastic and took a chair and put it on it. Next to her, Mai Sakurajima also smiled at the right time to show her welcome. It's just that Mai Sakurajima doesn't dare to look at Nangong-yang now. First, I want to wait for a while, receive treatment, and have a long kiss, which is a bit shy. Second, I seem to be inexplicably afraid of him and obey him, but I don't know why. Yesterday Nangong-yang's word spirit blurred memory made Sakurajima Mai really let her mind blur this memory. But subconsciously he is still afraid of Nangong-yang, and even obeys him. However, this is what Nangong-yang wants, otherwise it would be better to clear the memory yesterday. It can only be said that Nangong-yang does not recommend using any means to achieve his goals. Soon, Busujima Seiko filled out the club application form with the help of Chitanda Aru. After filling out the form, Busujima Seiko asked Chitanda Aru out of curiosity. What are the club activities of the classics department? Obviously, I have become somewhat interested and want to know more about it. However, this question gave way. Chitanda Aru was speechless. Yes, obviously from the Department of Classical Literature. However, he explored various urban legends out of curiosity. Now the senior classmate asks me, what should I say? I had a storm in my mind for a while, but couldn't think of anything. It was a very weak sentence. Discover urban legends. Nangong-yang heard it and didn't think anything happened. After hearing this, Mai Sakurajima took it for granted. After hearing this, Busujima Seiko raised his eyebrows and asked a little strangely. Isn't it the Department of Classical Literature? Shouldn't we read the stream of classical anthology? Or create your own collection of classical works? No matter what, don't get involved with exploration and urban legends. Busujima Seiko's comments are very sharp. Our great minister Chitanda Aru froze, breaking into a cold sweat. Do you have to be honest and say that it is to satisfy your own curiosity? These words also made Nangong Yang himself react. He remembered that in the original anime, the Department of Classical Literature indeed created traditional literature, and even published a book called Binguo. At this point, let alone the book Hinguo, I don't even have the idea of creating it. I just thought about adventure all day long. Next to her, my Sakurajima didn't understand. Isn't it good to look for urban legends? She even saved herself. Busujima Seiko was a very gentle woman, which made Chitanda Aru feel a little embarrassed, so she also gave her a pass. Well, Minister, let's hear what urban legends we want to explore. Maybe I've heard them. After saying that, Busujima Seiko gave a heartwarming smile. That's why he didn't give in. Chitanda Aru continued to be embarrassed. At the same time, when it comes to urban legends, everyone gets excited. I've collected quite a few urban legends recently. There is a first-grade female student in our school who started asking for leave intermittently within 2 weeks of the start of school. I haven't come to class now. Quote, however, some classmates saw that the girl who often asked for leave seemed to have an evil spirit swimming in her body. And as long as you get close to that girl, you will feel a response all over your body. It's a pity that this girl took a long vacation and hasn't come back to class yet, so she can't verify it. When Nangong Yang, a spirit exorcist, heard this, he understood that he was haunted by evil spirits. So I started to suffer from major illnesses and minor illnesses. If the spirit is not exorcised in time, death may be inevitable. As for Sakurajima Mai and Busujima Seiko on the other side, they should just listen to the story. Even if something strange like puberty syndrome happens around me, my Sakurajima didn't think there was such a thing as evil spirits. Then Chitanda Aru said some more plausible urban legends. It's surprising at first, but it's nonsense when you think about it carefully. Nangong Yang's club time is almost over. He came to Sakurajima Mai and pulled her. After seeing that it was Nangong Yang, I realized that I had to do the treatment myself. If I had followed my previous personality, I would have vented my shame and anger with a few words of yin-yang Nangong Yang because of my shyness. But now he didn't. On the contrary, he was very obedient and followed Nangong Yang's pull and left. Busujima Seiko on the side was thinking about something as he watched the two people walking out of the door. Love rival. As for Chitanda Aru, of course she knows what she is doing. Kissing in the name of treatment makes me feel bad when I think about it. But there was nothing we could do. It can only be kept out of sight. However, during this time, a person came to the gate of Sobu High School. He is not tall, only 1.6 meters tall, but his muscles are extremely strong. With his hair combed back slightly, he looks like a lion, the king of beasts. This is it. Soon, the club activity time is over. My Sakurajima returned to the club with a red face, as if on fire. As for Nangong Yang, he felt refreshed and proud. This kiss treatment lasted about 10 minutes, and Nangong Yang almost couldn't hold down the gun several times during the process. But after thinking about it in school, I returned to my senses. Nangong Yang highly praised the temporary recovery method he came up with. Not only do you make money, but you also take advantage of it, and you can also deepen your relationship. Busujima Seiko in the club was a little concerned when she saw Sakurajima Mai coming back with a red face. Nangong-kun, what happened when you went out with Sakurajima-san? It looks like Sakurajima-san's face is so red. And you two seem to have a good relationship. Nangong Yang was surprised that Busujima Seiko would ask these questions. After all, this is not in line with the character in the anime. Of course, Mai needs my help with some things, so blushing is tiring. As for the relationship, they are just normal friends, right? Mai. After Nangong Yang's treatment, the relationship between the two became much closer. It was more because of yesterday's post-sequelae that Nangong Yang had the opportunity to take advantage of it. Now I can call my classmates by their names without having to wait for suffixes for my classmates. Sakurajima Mai, who was called, responded slightly panicked. Yes, I asked Nangong-jun for help with some things, so my relationship is only average. When Sakurajima Mai said this, her eyes began to wander, her face turned slightly red, and she kept rubbing her hair with her fingers. Mai Sakurajima wondered if she was a different person from yesterday to today. My attitude towards Nangong-yang has changed so drastically, just because of a few kisses. It must have been caused by something that happened yesterday, but I can't remember exactly what happened yesterday. Seeing that the matter was over, Nangong-yang left immediately. It's almost time, so I'll go back first. After saying that, Nangong-yang picked up his satchel and prepared to go back to the service department to find Uegahama Yui. Busujima Seiko on the side saw Nangong-yang preparing to leave, and immediately raised the knife and said, "Let's come together, Mr. Nangong. I'm also planning to go back at this time. Maybe we can drop by." These words made Nangong-yang very surprised. Is Busujima Seiko a little too proactive? Chitanda Irie and Sakurajima Mai on the side could also feel it. Today's Busujima Seiko came here entirely for Nangong-yang, saying she was interested in talent. But now that Nangong-yang is going home and together, it has nothing to do with talent. So this senior classmate has fallen in love with Nangong-yang. Whatever the two of them can think of, Nangong-yang can naturally think of it. I'm just curious, why does Busujima Seiko fall in love with me? Or maybe there's something else hidden. But Nangong-yang did not refuse, and was even a little excited. Okay, senior sister Seiko, I'm very happy to go back with you. It would be even better if we really come along. Then Nangong-yang said, I have to go to other clubs to find people. See you at the entrance of the club area then. After saying that, he walked to the service department. When Nangong-yang arrived at the service department, he opened the door and saw two people inside, Yukinoshita Yukino and Uegahama. It's been almost a month and we haven't recruited all the people yet. Nangong-yang couldn't help but joked. Yukoshita-san, your club has been in this club for so long, but why haven't a few people come in yet? So far, only one member of Tuanzi has joined, and there are only two of us, so I'm afraid they're not far from being abandoned. Yukinoshita Yukino in the club looked at Nangong-yang, who suddenly came in, and started teasing her about whether the club was going to die soon after he came in. His face suddenly turned cold. He didn't knock on the door when he came in, and he even laughed at himself. It's strange to have such a good face. Immediately venomous retort, classmate Nangong, haven't your family taught you what politeness is? Don't you understand that you have to knock on the door when entering other people's societies? There are also club matters, so I don't need you, a violent maniac, to worry about it. I am an honors student with privileges, so I can still do it if I want a small club. Quote. Hearing this, Nangong-yang smiled and caught the flaw in the words. So Yukinoshita-san likes to abuse privileges and doesn't follow the rules. Nangong-yang's words are extremely lethal. Failure to follow the rules is incorrect. However, Yukinoshita Yukino believes in absolute correctness. So, the Yukinoshita sank completely. What I believed in was absolutely correct, but I unknowingly abused my privilege. Today's vicious tongue war with Yukinoshita is Nangong-yang's victory. Uegahama Yui, who had been watching from the side, looked at Yukinoshita and said a few words before she was off guard by Nangong-yang. I was immediately speechless to Nangong-yang, the instigator. Immediately expressed support for Yukinoshita Yukino. Nangong-kun can't bully Yukino-chan. Yukino-chan is a good friend of mine, and the club is short of people or something, so I just need to find a few people to show up. Seeing Tuanzi stand up for Shueno, Nangong-yang, as a good man, immediately gave in. Okay, you won. It's getting late for the group, let's go back. Hearing that Nangong-yang was willing to surrender to him, Tuanzi also hummed happily. Then he said to Yukinoshita Yukino, Shui Naojong, I will go back first. As for Nangong-jun, don't worry about it. Bye-bye. After saying hello, Yui picked up her small bag and followed Nangong-yang. Yukinoshita Yukino looked at the two people leaving. Recalling what Nangong-yang said just now, it is not unreasonable. I actually did it unconsciously and went against what was absolutely right. It seems that my belief is not firm enough. It seems like we need to find 2 people to join the club as soon as possible. The girl's obsession is really getting weirder and weirder. Wait for Nangong Yang and Yui to arrive at the door of the club activity area. I saw 5 young and beautiful girls, divided into 2 groups and waiting there, forming a unique landscape. The boys who were about to go home after the club were all drooling and staring straight at the sight. As for why there are 5 digits and not 3, that's because the other 2 are Yatsuya Miko and Yuri Kawaka. The 2 of them relied on their complete digestion ability to join the cooking department and ate so much that no one else could. After the club is over, wait at the door of the club activity area. Both of them took today's proposal seriously to avoid what happened yesterday happening again. A long way away, the 5 of them could see Nanyang. Say hello to Nangong Yang immediately. When Busujima Seiko saw the 2 girls next to her, they were also saying hello to Nangong Yang. And Nangong Yang was followed by another girl. For a moment, I sighed that the husband I valued was so charming. It can actually attract so many girls. But Busujima Seiko didn't think anything of it, as a traditional Yamato Nadeshiko. Men who are taught to be excellent will naturally attract the favor of too many women. So it's very open-minded. It's just that I won't be able to communicate too much with Nangong Yang. Nangong Yang saw that everyone was here, and he and the other girls walked out the door. On the way, Nangong Yang also introduced Miko Yatsuya and Yuri Kawaka to the 3 girls from the classical literature department. Very strange at the same time. Why do we gather so many people to walk together after school, especially Eru and Mai? You 2 are joining in the fun. Nangong Yang said this and looked at the 2 of them. I didn't say that we would go together in the club just now, but now the 2 of us have joined. Suddenly the number of women came to 6. Nangong Yang, who thought he was the king of the sea for a while, was a little hard to resist. If they were all dependents, it would be easy to handle, but if there were 3 of them, they would have to take into account their feelings. When asked about the 2 people talking, Eru said simply, "Isn't it normal to walk together after school? But in my heart, I don't want Busujima Seiko and Nangong Yang to be alone together." But I didn't expect that there would be 3 other very cute girls following me. As for Sakurajima Mai herself, she doesn't know. She only feels safe when she is by Nangong Yang's side, but won't say what's in her heart, she just talks casually. I feel the same way. We are friends after all. This is normal. Okay, no matter what, you are right, let's go. Then several people walked outside the school. But they didn't wait for Nangong Yang and the others to get far outside the school. A fierce energy locked Nangong Yang. Nangong Yang's whole body became tense. Because Nangong Yang felt a fatal crisis in this energy. Busujima Seiko next to him was not the target of this energy. But he also felt a momentum spreading from a distance, aiming directly at Nangong Yang. The visitor is not good. Nangong Yang and Busujima Seiko both had this idea in their hearts. Among the girls, Yatsuya Miko also felt it. As the most junior spiritual master who has cultivated spiritual power, his keen 5 senses can naturally sense different auras. But because I'm still a newbie, I don't know what it is, so I just unconsciously enter a state of alert. For a moment, 3 of the 7 people stopped, and the others looked at the 3 of them curiously. What's going on? Nangong Yang looked at the chi machine to lock his direction. He is not tall, only 1.6 meters tall, but the muscles on his body are extremely strong. Wearing the uniform of suzerain high school, with his hair slicked back slightly, he looked extremely fierce. Just by looking at him, Nangong Yang knew who it was. Serizawa Tamao from suzerain high school, nicknamed the King of Beasts. Now that he appears here, he must be here to find himself. After all, nearly 100 delinquents were crippled yesterday and are still disabled for life. They are all people from suzerain high school, and there must be Serizawa Tamao's subordinates among them. Even if not, I will definitely come here for the sake of suzerain high school. After all, nearly 100 people were crippled by an unknown boy. If you tell the truth, suzerain high school no longer needs to be mixed up in the high school world. Tamao Serizawa is currently sitting in front of a beverage shop not far from the school. He just locked his chi machine on Nangong Yang and had no intention of coming over. It was obvious that he wanted Nangong Yang to go there. Maybe it was out of consideration for Nangong Yang and the girls behind him. If we really get into a fight later, it would be bad if we hurt so many beautiful girls. Wear it out for fear of losing your reputation as the king of beasts. Nangong Yang seemed to have realized its meaning. He turned to the people behind him. You guys wait for me here for a while, I'll go over there. But before Nangong Yang could continue, Busujima Seiko on the side clenched the wooden sword in his hand and said, "Do you need me to go with you?" As Busujima Seiko spoke, a fighting spirit appeared on his face, and the tyranny deep in his eyes was ready to move. Nangong Yang looked at Ujima Seiko's face that was starting to get a little excited. I knew what she was thinking and refused immediately. No, I'll go over first to see what's going on. There is only one person here today, and there is no one who yells and kills as soon as he comes up. I will go and check it out first. At this time, the girls next to me realized what had happened. The first one to speak was Yatsuya Miko. Nangong-jun, are those bad guys from yesterday here again? Where are they? We are here today. We can release the substitute and have a fight with them. Shalwa and Yui both agreed with Miko's words. Although a few people don't like to fight, it's different when it comes to Nangong Yang's safety. Immediately, the three women summoned their substitutes, Gourmet Knight, Vicious Dog, and God of Violence. The power exuded by the three women surprised even Busujima Seiko next to her. After all, in the eyes of Busujima Seiko, the women in front of her are all weaklings, but she didn't expect that they would always be so powerful. Moreover, I could feel an inexplicable threat from the three women in front of me, and it could even be said that my heart was palpitating. Seeing how many of his family members care so much about him. Nangong Yang was also very pleased. Sure enough, the pain was not in vain, but he still said, "You guys wait here for now, I will contact you secretly if necessary. I'll borrow your substitute when we meet you soon, so you don't have to take action." Quote. Okay, Shalwa, do you still bring delicious peanuts? Shalwa responded immediately. Yes, we prepare some extra every day. Okay, if you need to take action later, just eat it and attack with all your strength. Also remember to give one to Seiko-senpai. Quote. After saying that, he looked at Busujima Seiko. Seeing the violence deep in his eyes, he comforted him. Senior sister, please wait here as well. I'll be right back. If you need anything, Tuanzi and the other three will tell you. Looking back at Serizawa Tamao, the aura radiating towards him became stronger and stronger. Apparently a little impatient, Nangong Yang immediately walked towards Serizawa Tamao. In the process, Nangong Yang ate delicious peanuts and used the temporary ability Insect King Summons to summon the violent god of Yatsuya Miko. But instead of possessing him, he floated beside him, and at the same time wrapped the remaining 11 chains around his body to form a defense. Because as Nangong Yang approaches, it is obvious that the fatal crisis in Serizawa Tamao is gradually escalating. In one's own induction, although the life energy is not higher than one's own, it is not much different. In other words, Serizawa Tamao is about to become an intermediate martial artist. Its energy and blood burst ranges from 270 tons to 224 tons, and its normal strength ranges from 30 tons to 28 tons. The strength of a junior martial artist ranges from 10 tons to 30 tons, and the energy and blood burst multiples are in single digits, 1 to 9 times. If the strength of an intermediate martial artist is between 30 tons and 90 tons, the energy and blood burst multiple is in double digits, between 10 times and 99 times. By analogy, senior martial artists will eventually become top martial artists. Therefore, Serizawa Tamao's power range is easy to calculate. It was precisely because of the calculation that Nangong Yang understood how deadly this fatal crisis was. If you really want to come face to face with this fierce man, you will be injured if you hit him, and you will die if you touch him. So this time, instead of attaching the god of violence to his body, he placed it outside his body so that he could exert the agility and reaction that a stand should have, and achieve the effect of nearly 100 punches per second. It can also prevent Serizawa Tamao from reacting when he attacks him. Moreover, after eating delicious peanuts, the power of the violent god was strengthened to 10 tons of force, which is enough for nearly 100 punches per second. Enough to beat him to a pulp. After completing this series of preparations, Jiang suddenly felt confident. Tamao Serizawa, who was sitting in the beverage shop, looked at Nangong Yang, who was walking over. At first, I could sense the rich life energy of Nangong Yang, but there was no blood circulation. Without the strengthening of qi and blood, it will only defeat the junior martial artist. A little contemptuous for a moment. When Nangong Yang released the substitute god of violence, the martial artist's intuition told him. Nangong Yang is very dangerous now, but not dangerous. Very contradictory. For a moment, Tamao Serizawa was a little unsure about Nangong Yang's background. But as the king of beasts at Suzerain High School, he has enough arrogance to ignore the impact of this contradiction. But he still became serious and bit in his contempt. Nangong Yang slowly came to Serizawa Tamao, with 1 meter between them. Substitute god of violence is standing in front of him. My height of 1.8 meters forms a bird's eye view, directly suppressing Tamao Serizawa's momentum in terms of physical height. For a moment, the veins in Serizawa Tamao's head popped out. But thinking that we were not here to fight today, I still calmed down and said, I need an explanation for what happened yesterday, and we Linglan need an explanation as well. Nangong Yang laughed when he heard this, laughing a little wildly. He, you are teaching me to do heavy lifting. You still want me to explain to you, you are kidding me. Quote. When Serizawa Tamao heard Nangong Yang's words, he didn't want to give an explanation, and his eyes were fierce. You injured so many people in our school yesterday, and all of them were disabled for life. Shouldn't we give an explanation? Seeing the fierce light in Serizawa Tamao's eyes, the violent god in front of him took a stance and was about to punch, always taking precautions. This made Serizawa Tamao's temples jump, and the fierce light in his eyes dropped slightly. Nangong Yang smiled when he saw this. Let Serizawa Tamao on the opposite side want to slap Nangong Yang to death. Those who are my enemies should die. You should be glad that they came to surround me in public yesterday. If they were in a deserted place, believe me, they would never reach the sun today. Quote. What Nangong Yang said was no joke. If he was really in a remote place yesterday, those bad guys will definitely be sucked up by Nangong Yang using his stand-in ability. After being reborn with a substitute, this power is destined to be invincible in the world. In addition, this is a comprehensive comic book world, and the power value is not high. Nangong Yang's whole person can be said to be full of arrogance. So again, those who are my enemies should die, or be disabled if not dead. Therefore, Nangong Yang's character became more and more perverse and unscrupulous from the moment he awakened his memory. And Nangong Yang's goal is also very clear, which is to be an ancestor of the world. Tamao Serizawa can clearly feel it. Nangong Yang was telling the truth, and his anger almost exploded. Shouted angrily, you have to think carefully, we have more than 10 martial artists at Suzerain High School. You have damaged Linglan's face, and when the time comes, you won't be able to talk to him so easily. Nangong Yang's face turned cold when he heard this, and he looked like a dead man in his eyes. So you are threatening me? Seeing Nangong Yang's expression change, this time it was Keita Dao's turn to laugh. It's not a threat, it's just telling the truth. Okay, then let me tell you something, so the Shinomiya Zaibatsu will know it. Yesterday, I asked them to handle the follow-up. What would happen if I asked them to take action against your parents on a social level? When Nangong Yang said this, the look on his face became ferocious. Besides, I'm alone in Sakura country now, so guess what will happen when I take up my post? Do you think I can find your parents? Do you think I can find your relatives and friends? Do you think I can make them look like something you can't imagine? Quote. After saying this, Nangong Yang's face looked like a devil, smiling ferociously. After saying this, Nangong Yang's face looked like a devil, smiling ferociously. Are you still a martial artist? It's so despicable to threaten your family. Quote. Hearing this, Nangong Yang smiled even more wildly. Hey, I figured it out. You were the one who threatened me first. Didn't I learn from you? I hate double standard dogs the most in my life. You are only allowed to threaten me, but I am not allowed to threaten you, right? When Nangong Yang said these words, Tamao Serizawa's face turned ugly. Nangong Yang is right, he was indeed the first to threaten. It's just my own threat, no one else's threat is more serious. Serizawa Tamao just stood there and held it in for a while. The thoughts in my heart are very confusing. Nangong Yang's threat is not impossible, it may even be possible. First of all, the ability of the Fourth House Consortium is not something that suzerain and I can compete with. Secondly, as Nangong Yang said, he is alone and can fight guerrillas, carry out sneak attacks, and even target his own relatives and friends. That's really hard to guard against. As for the group of women behind Nangong Yang, in Serizawa Tamao's view, they are just Nangong Yang's toys. It is completely impossible to use it as a threat. After all, a person who can speak out and threaten his parents will definitely not care about his own woman. Tamao Serizawa wished he could push Nangong Yang to the ground right now and beat him to death. But that invisible sense of crisis kept hurting myself and my nerves. Every time I want to take action, I feel like I'm going to die here. Extremely frustrated. After some frustrating struggle and thinking, I finally said it very painfully. According to the rules of martial arts, let's make an appointment and let's challenge each other. This is the last method that Serizawa Tamao came up with. Regardless of winning or losing, there is an explanation. Otherwise, the two sides will fall out and overturn each other's tables. In the end, it was suzerain's side who felt uncomfortable. It's just that it's not certain who will be invited to play at that time. Looking at Serizawa Tamao, his face was ugly, and he choked out a sentence. Nangong Yang was very happy. Nangong Yang's two threats just now, the first is the social pressure from the Sigong Consortium. This can be done easily. As for the subsequent threats to the lives of his family, parents, relatives and friends, it's a bit like pulling off the skin of a tiger. No matter how proud Nangong Yang is, he will never hurt innocent people. I just want Serizawa Tamao to know that he is a person with this strength and can threaten anyone. Now Serizawa Tamao has relented and is not as aggressive as he was at the beginning. Nangong Yang is naturally easy to talk to. That's right, it's such a big deal, why should it be so tense? This makes both parties look bad. Just put the matter in perspective. For those nearly 100 delinquents, shouldn't I also ask the Shinomiya family's medical staff to rescue them? There is no life-threatening danger, right? From now on, I will live like a prosthetic limb. Quote. As for what the university can do with a little face, you can't eat it, right? Quote. Nangong Yang suddenly said with a smile. It was as if nothing happened when he looked so ferocious just now and threatened others. Looks like a good person to talk to. This made Serizawa Tamao's face extremely gloomy, and he was convinced that the person in front of him was definitely the kind of old fool who eats people without spitting out their bones. Nangong Yang looked at Tamao Serizawa, still sullen and silent. So I didn't put my hot face on my cold butt and asked directly. Where do you plan to arrange a one-on-one duel? If there is no good choice, then I will choose a place. Nangong Yang doesn't care where we meet or duel. Nangong Yang was absolutely invincible in a one-on-one fight. Tamao Serizawa had previously threatened that suzerain's martial artists would hunt him down. I'm not afraid, I just don't like being threatened, and if that happens, it will be very troublesome and affect my daily life. Nangong Yang knows the destructive power of martial artists. It would be bad if he hurt the flowers and plants on the walls of his house. But it's best to decide the location you choose to avoid being ambushed. Rui District, abandoned workshop, closed next week. How about it? Watching Nangong Yang decide the location on his own, there is still time. Tamao Serizawa thinks about this place. Okay, I will go there when the time comes, but I don't necessarily have to go on stage to fight you one-on-one. Speaking of this, Serizawa Tamao showed an inexplicable smile. Serizawa Tamao was very sure of his intuition. The premonition that he would die just now must be true. So I've already decided who to look for, and suzerain's is the strongest. If it were that person, he could definitely crush Nangong Yang's limbs. Absolutely no one can stop his divine hand, and they will all be crushed by it. Cheating. I'm curious, who are you going to play? You will know who will come on stage when the time comes, and since you have agreed, use the rules of a martial artist to decide the outcome. You won't regret it. Tamao Serizawa stimulated Nangong Yang in reverse and wanted him to confirm his consent. After all, Nangong Yang may be an old cunt, and it is possible that he regrets it. It will be difficult for me to explain myself when the time comes. Nangong Yang can guess Tamao Serizawa's little thoughts at a glance, but still give a reply. Don't worry, I will definitely be there. You can just go and invite your main card. As long as Serizawa Tamao doesn't invite high-level martial artists, he will completely crush himself. Relying on substitute violence God can completely smash him into pieces. Nangong Yang is so convinced. What's more, Nangong Yang is confident that within a week, qi and blood circulation will be formed and qi and blood can be cultivated. At that time, you will be able to fully utilize your mid-level combat experience. With just a raise of hands and feet, there is 300 tons of power, coupled with the superimposed attack of God of Violence. If you are not invincible in a duel, then what is invincible? After hearing Nangong Yang's accurate reply, Serizawa Tamao turned around and left. No intention of staying. If it weren't for the confirmation that he couldn't beat him, Nangong Yang would be absolutely unbeatable. Now that things are settled, it's natural to leave. The women behind saw Serizawa Tamao walking away. Immediately ran to Nangong Yang. Nangong Yang also took back the substitute. Echo said calmly, "Okay, the matter is settled, there is nothing else to do, you can go back." Chitanda Irie asked curiously, "Why did that short winter melon come to you just now?" And he looked very fierce. Nangong Yang couldn't help laughing when he heard this. "Aru, if you let him hear you say that he is short, I will definitely give you 2 punches and make you cry for a long time. That guy is the very famous one in Suzerain High School, the king of beasts, Serizawa Tamao." Quote. While Nangong Yang was chatting and laughing with the girls, Busujima Seiko raised his eyebrows. The conversation between Nangong Yang and Tamao Serizawa just now was heard clearly by the ears blessed by qi and blood. "Make an appointment for a martial arts duel next week. Why don't you say it now because you don't want to worry anyone?" Therefore Busujima Seiko didn't say much. I think Nangong Yang had his own considerations. "When the time comes, I will support the scene myself, and if the situation permits, I can also take action." Night, 3rd floor of the office, training area. Nangong Yang is doing the physical refining boxing and the blood in his body is circulating rapidly. Arousing all the life energy, Nangong Yang stopped after practicing for a while and felt hungry. Open all the various barbecues ordered on the side and start eating with big mouthfuls. During the meal, Nangong Yang deliberately felt his current strength, which was at least over 32 tons. The reason why the strength increased by 2 tons so quickly was mainly due to the lingering aftertaste from the last time I drank the ferocious beast. Let yourself grow rapidly again, and you will also have a dependent part of the life energy fed back after eating. Coupled with yesterday's battle with nearly 100 bad guys and 2 martial artists, his strength grew rapidly. The strength increased by 2 tons in a few days, Zhao Lihao, which is already a very terrifying effect. It is also something unimaginable in the martial arts world. Thinking of promotion, Nangong Yang thought of the scene where he sucked the beast last time. Nangong Yang immediately called the housekeeper of the Shinomiya family. "Have you caught any new ferocious beasts in the past few days? If so, let me know. I will use them in the next few days." The housekeeper on the other side of the phone said very respectfully. "There is no news about the new ferocious beast in the past few days. Once there is news, I will notify your nannying doctor immediately." "Okay, I'll hang up now. It's a pity that the ferocious beast is really hard to find." After Nangong Yang hung up, he opened line on his phone. Click inside, Crystal Palace chat group. Add yourself to Kegaya's line today. Pulled into the Crystal Palace, and Shalwa was also pulled in. Nangong. At all group members. Mionzi. What are you doing? Cat yawns. Yui. Little bear probe. Shalwa. See, Kegaya. Your pictures are beautiful. How did you find them? Yui. Just click on our picture to save it. Nangong. Everyone, listen to me first. Didn't someone block me in school after school today? Nangong. Everyone, listen to me first. Didn't someone block me in school after school today? Nangong. Because of yesterday's bad things, I came to me to explain. In the end, we agreed to have a one-on-one duel according to the rules of martial arts. Nangong. The reason why I'm talking to the group now instead of saying it at that time is because I don't want other people to be involved. They are outsiders after all. Nangong. So how about we come together when the time comes and watch me show off my power? Sunglasses. Kegaya. It's those bad guys again. why don't I find someone to demolish that school? Shinomiya Kagaya's shocking speech made everyone in the group sweat. Yui. It's not good, sweating. Mionzi. Yes, it's useless to demolish the school when it comes to students. Shalwa. Show off your power. So when the time comes, we will become cheerleaders. Nangong. Kagaya, it's useless to demolish the school. You have to go over and beat them up before they stop. Kagaya. Okay. Nangong. Shalwa, don't even think about cheerleaders. I don't want you to go out dressed like that and be seen by others. Nangong Yang's words made the 4 girls at home blush, and some even rolled around on the bed shyly. Shalwa. Shy. Yui was shy and quickly changed the subject. Yui. Do we have to fight? Nangong-kun, you're injured. Nangong. So, I'm going to take you with me. If something goes wrong, we'll use a substitute to beat them up together. Heshan's smile. GNZ. Nangong-jun is so awesome, he has thought of everything. Nangong. Thank you for the compliment. Extremely smart. Nangong. One more thing, I found someone today who may join us and become a family member. Luxury. Jonzi. Dependence. Subway old man. Jonzi. Come again, how long has it been gone? Shalwa. Who is it? Shalwa. Bujima senpai. Chitanda-san. Nangong. It's being kept secret for the time being. It's just a possibility, not a sure thing. I'll go test it out tomorrow. Yui. The status is reduced by 1. Little bear cries. Nangong. The status should be increased by 1. Crazy head waving. Nangong. That's all I have to say, it's getting late, I'm going offline, you can continue chatting. On the other side of the phone, helplessness appeared on the faces of the 3 girls. It seemed that the number of sisters was about to increase. However, Shalwa was still careless, eating the snacks beside the bed, and then socializing in the group. I don't care about the increase or decrease of sisters at all. Anyway, it doesn't matter whether it's more or less, it doesn't matter. The next afternoon, Nangong Yang came to the club activity area and did not go to the classical literature department as usual. Instead, he walked straight to the center of the club activity area, where the school's kendo club is located. Because last year the kendo club won the first Jade Dragon flag title for the school. Therefore, the school specially approved the largest activity room for the kendo club. Obviously I want to vigorously train him so that he can gain more glory and let the school's reputation be exposed. And the winner of the Jade Dragon flag is naturally Busujima Seiko. Therefore, Busujima Seiko directly became the head of the kendo club. It has a very high reputation in the school. But Nangong Yang vaguely forgot something when he went to the kendo club. I didn't think of it for a moment. Forget it, I didn't think about it, it's not that important after all. Soon Nangong Yang came to the entrance of the kendo department. It seems that the kendo department is much larger than our classical literature department, nearly 10 times the area. Even the entrance door is almost as wide as my own club. This is outrageous. I looked at a group of students inside, both male and female, all wearing kendo training uniforms and practicing sword-wielding wooden swords. Each and every one of them shouted with great enthusiasm. Nangong Yang was a little confused. Don't these guys have to go to class? Looking at the group of sweating students in front of them, they have obviously been practicing for a while. At this time, a short-haired girl in the club who was resting on the ground saw Nangong Yang standing at the door of the club. Especially Nangong Yang's appearance was so eye-catching. After staying there for a while, he hurriedly ran out and came to Nangong Yang. Hello, handsome boy, are you here at the kendo club? What do you want? The short-haired girl in the kendo uniform in front of me, looking at Nangong Yang's handsome appearance, stuttered a little while speaking, and her face was full of embarrassment. Nangong Yang nodded and said, Yes, I'm here to join the club. What should your kendo club do? At the same time, he looked at the blushing short-haired girl in front of him and couldn't help teasing her. Your members are all practicing, but you are sitting aside to rest. Are you being lazy? The short-haired girl was a little shy and flustered. It was the first time she was teased by such a handsome guy. I couldn't answer for a while, so I stuttered. No, I'm just a little tired. Let's take a rest. Seeing that the short-haired girl was so nervous, Nangong Yang stopped teasing her and asked her to take him in. Soon the short-haired girl took Nangong Yang into the kendo club. Arrive at a platform inside the kendo club. As Nangong Yang entered kendo, naturally many students saw Nangong Yang. Suddenly attracted by his immortal-like appearance, everyone was stunned. After coming back to their senses, the girls burst into cheers. This is the first time I have seen such a handsome boy ADFH, and he is currently filling out the membership form at the club platform. All the girls cheered excitedly. As for the boys, when they saw such a handsome guy coming to their club, they all felt sad. I don't have enough girls in my club. Here comes another handsome guy. If you attract all the girls in the club, that's okay. Especially among the boys, there is one boy who has a slightly strong figure and a delicate appearance. He is the deputy director of the kendo department, Tai Sawakawa. Seeing a boy who is more handsome than me enter the kendo club makes me feel bad. The reason why he joined the kendo club was to pursue Busujima Seiko. If such a handsome boy joins the club, there's no guarantee that Busujima Seiko won't be tempted. Go to the platform immediately. He arrived behind Nangong Yang in a few steps. He said, "This classmate, do you want to join the kendo club?" Hearing a voice coming from behind, Nangong wanted to change his voice. "Yes, I was entrusted by someone to join the kendo club. What can I do?" Zekwon Tai slightly arranged his kendo uniform and said slowly, "Now our kendo club has begun preparations for the Jade Dragon Banner Kendo competition. I also had special training for a while." Nangong Yang looked at the people in front of him and said a lot, not knowing what he meant. He interrupted again and said, "So what's the problem?" Zichuan Tai, seeing Nangong Yang, interrupted himself. He immediately summed it up and spit out what he had prepared. "What I mean is, junior fellow student, if you join the club now, you won't be able to keep up with us, it will only be a hindrance. So you should come back next year and join the kendo club." Nangong Yang felt bad when he heard this stupid question. "I joined your kendo club, but I didn't say that I had to participate in the Jade Dragon Banner Kendo competition." There was no guarantee that the man in front of me was seriously ill, so he turned around and ignored him, continuing to write the regiment report in his hand. "Just finish writing the report and give it to Busujima Seiko. After all, she is the commander of the kendo club and the director of the kendo club." Zichuan Tai felt a little unhappy when he saw Nangong Yang ignoring him, and immediately started gossiping behind him. "Junior, with your current skinny figure, you are completely unsuitable for practicing kendo. I'm afraid I didn't swing it a few times and I was left gasping for breath. I think I'd better forget it." When Nangong Yang heard these sarcastic words, question marks appeared on his head. "I have a skinny body, and I can punch you to death, even if it's light." And Nangong Yang finally understood that the guy behind him was here to stir up trouble. "No more filling out the club form, turn around and come over," he said with a slightly cold expression. "You said I'm a skinny dog, how about we compete with each other on your best swordsmanship?" Hearing this, the short-haired girl behind quickly said, "Handsome guy, please don't agree. He is the deputy director of our kendo club, Minato. I have a very good talent in swordsmanship. I was praised by the minister. I will definitely become a martial artist before graduation. If you compete with him, you will be beaten badly. Martial artists are monsters in the eyes of ordinary people. Even if they have not yet developed their chi and blood, they still have a few tons of strength at the beginning, which is very scary." Nangong Yang was a little surprised when he heard this. Busujima Seiko actually praised his talent for picking up hair in front of him. It seems that this guy has good talent, but he is just looking for trouble, and he finds it on himself. "That's embarrassing, I'll have to give you a beating anyway." Nangong Yang turned around and comforted the short-haired girl and said, "Don't worry, I'm also very strong. I beat him easily and called him daddy." The girl with short hair is a little anxious to see that Nangong Yang is still in the mood to joke with her. "It would be a huge loss if such a handsome guy in front of me were to lose his appearance. It would be a huge loss if such a handsome guy in front of him were to lose his appearance." The girls from the kendo club who were nearby all persuaded Nangong Yang to give up the duel with Zekwon Tai. After all, in the eyes of these girls, a handsome guy like Nangong Yang cannot compete with Zekwon Tai. After all, the gap between martial artists and normal people is too big. Even if this martial artist has not yet developed his chi and blood, he is not yet a true martial artist. As for the boys in the kendo club, they would not miss such a good opportunity to watch a show. One after another, they stood opposite the girls and started to make noises and stir up trouble. Pointed out, spoken words, like spilled water, can never be taken back. Single quote. Zi Chuan-tai, who was on the side, heard Nangong Yang telling the short-haired girl that she was going to beat him until she called her daddy. His face was almost crumpled with anger, but he heard the boys behind him making noises. You can feel relieved if you force him to duel with you. Later in the duel, you will have to beat him until he calls his dad to stop. He spoke immediately. You just said so brazenly that if you want to be beaten, I will call you daddy. So just like you said, let's go up and sign with each other now. After speaking, Zequan-tai waved back. Several boys immediately understood what it meant, and quickly got a set of protective gear, as well as kendo uniforms and wooden swords. Place it in front of Nangong Yang. Zequan-tai saw everything in front of him. He said with a smile on his face. How about it? Come or not? If you don't come, you are talking big words. Those who talk big words will not be able to enter the kendo club. At this time, Zequan-tai smiled very proudly. Nangong Yang looked at others and stretched their faces in front of him. If you don't fight yourself, it would be a bit rude. Just when Nangong Yang was about to say yes, as soon as Leng Li's voice came. Deputy Minister, you don't seem to have the right to refuse others to join the kendo club. The person coming is none other than Busujima Seiko. I went to class F, first grade, but didn't find anyone, nor did I see anyone in the classics department. Thinking that Nangong Yang might have come to the kendo club on his own, he returned to the kendo club. But when he came to the kendo club, I saw that the members inside were not practicing their sword swings as usual. Instead, they gathered together one by one, as if watching some excitement. Busujima Seiko slowly walked up to a female member and asked softly. Shaoli, what's going on now? Why are a group of people not practicing but gathering together? What's going on inside? Rei was questioned by Busujima Seiko. Hearing this familiar voice, he immediately turned around and said in surprise. Minister, you're back. There was a handsome guy who wanted to join our club just now, but he was rejected by the deputy minister for unfounded reasons. Now the deputy minister is forcing that classmate to duel with him. I don't know why the deputy minister refused that classmate from entering the club. Quote. At the same time, he told Busujima Seiko everything that had just happened, and also complained about his confusion. Busujima Seiko, you can understand the whole story after hearing this. That's what I said just now. Besides, it is my right to recruit or not to recruit members. It seems that it is not your control. Have you crossed the line? Busujima Seiko slowly walked towards the two of them. Nangong Yang looked calm. After all, it was Busujima Seiko who invited him to join the club. As for Zequan-tai, he looked a little embarrassed. But he still said it bravely. We have already started training with the Jade Dragon banner. If this kid joins us now, he will definitely not be able to keep up with our progress. It will definitely be a hindrance by then, so I don't think it's necessary. It's okay to let him wait until the Jade Dragon flag passes before he can join the club. This is all for our kendo club to achieve better results in the Jade Dragon banner. Quote. At this time, Zequan-tai still had some small thoughts in his heart, and wanted to squeeze Nangong Yang away. Busujima Seiko saw that the other party still wanted to drive Nangong Yang away, frowning slightly and said. Nangong-kun, I personally came here to join the kendo club. You are questioning my vision. And in the kendo club, you never refuse the right of others to join the club. Remember, I am the minister. Quote. Sawakawa Yasu looked at Busujima Seiko and had already reached this point. Naturally, there will be no further refutation. Turn around immediately and prepare to continue training. Nangong Yang spoke at this time. Hey, don't go, didn't you just say gesticulations? Come and try it. As soon as Nangong Yang said this, there was a commotion in the community. Just now Busujima Seiko came out and spoke for Nangong Yang, which already surprised everyone. There are many speculations about the relationship between the two. Did not expect. After Busujima Seiko helped This classmate named Nangong actually still provokes Deputy Minister Zekwon Tai, which is really too long-lived. Zekwon Tai, who was originally going to go back to practice, was immediately excited when he heard this. This pretty boy is seeking his own death. He actually invited himself to a duel again. In this case, Shima Seiko would have been powerless to stop it. After he beat him up, he wouldn't have the shame to stay in the kendo club anymore. Otherwise, this appearance would be too threatening to him in pursuit of Busujima Seiko. He immediately turned around and agreed as quickly as possible. Okay, come now. The speed of agreeing was so fast that Sheng Bonan and Jiang regretted it. When the female members tried to stop him again, it was already too late. Busujima Seiko was surprised. Nangong Yang, what do you want to do? As for worrying, she doesn't think so. In her opinion, Nangong Yang is not much weaker than herself, and is even stronger. If he can practice his qi and blood and form a qi and blood circulation, he can surpass her in an instant. As for why no one in the club has heard rumors that Nangong Yang is very strong. For example, a single player can defeat nearly 100 delinquents. Because everyone in the club has to undergo a 3-month special training, there is relatively little information. In order to get a good ranking in Yulong Banner, and even considering academic performance, the school has additional arrangements for tutoring. So I can't guess what happened at school yesterday. It will probably take a few days until the information is received. Nangong Yang, Kong Di picked up the 10,000 yuan prepared by the rehabilitation department members just now. As for armor and kendo uniforms, you don't need them. It's just that the way he holds the sword looks like a layman's, holding the wooden sword completely like a stick. The members of the club were surprised as to why Nangong Yang deserved Busujima Seiko's personal invitation to join the club. Nangong Yang walked straight to the middle of the training ground. He waved to Zekwon Tai and said, "Come on, don't you want to try it?" Zichuan Tai looked at the confident Nangong Yang and was unsure for a moment. At the same time, it can be seen that he is not wearing any armor. An egomaniac or a complete novice. But it doesn't matter, it's better not to wear it, and the beating will hurt more. Let him know how to respect his predecessors. Although Zekwon Tai did not remind Nangong Yang to wear armor. But the female members behind him reminded Nangong Yang to wear armor one by one. Nangong Yang smiled to express his gratitude to so many women who cared about him. All of a sudden, all the female members were stunned, and they were all fascinated. Nangong Yang watched the female members behind him become quiet, then turned to Zekwon Tai, who came to him and said, "Come on, it's time to start. As for the armor, I don't need it. If you get injured, you're not responsible. I also hope that if you get hurt, don't hold me responsible. After all, you are just a weak chicken to me." Quote. Nangong Yang's words completely angered Minato. I saw him roaring loudly. Holding the wooden sword high in the hand, he stepped forward and slashed forward with one step. One move was a standard forward slash. The power was extremely powerful for a moment, and a violent sound broke through the air as he waved. A direct attack on Nangong Yang's face, or to be precise, his forehead. Because the human skull is the hardest bone in the human body. Zekwon Tai's blow can be said to be very cruel. If Nangong Yang is hit, his appearance will definitely be broken. At the same time, because of the hardness of the skull, there will be no danger to life. A concussion at most. Everything is the most perfect calculation. However, it is not as good as God. Nangong Yang is the lucky one. It just moved to the right side and hit his right thigh bone at an extremely fast speed. Nangong Yang didn't use much strength in this blow. Just enough to make his thigh bone enter a state of slight bone cracking. It will not have any impact on its actions, it will only make it feel deep pain. In an instant, Zekwon Tai let out a scream like a slaughtered pig. However, while Zichuan Tai was still screaming, Nangong Yang came around behind him. Another blow to his left calf bone. It also enters a state of micro bone cracking. As a result, Zekwon Tai lay directly on the ground, and the wooden knife in his hand disappeared without knowing where. Nangong Yang completely used the wooden knife as a wooden stick, constantly beating around Zichuan Tai. It's like beating a drum. With each knock, Tai Sawakawa's screams increased by 1 point. In the eyes of others, Nangong Yang only dodged the blow slightly, and then kept beating around Zichuan Tai. As for Zekwon, he lay directly on the ground after being hit twice. This scene is just like a father beating his son. When the knocking was almost done, Nangongyang stopped and said, "How about it? Call me dad now and I won't continue to beat you." After being beaten until he was wailing and writhing on the ground, Zekwon felt extremely ashamed for a moment. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.